to end police brutality, but what are we doing? Still maintaining the same dance.
In other words, we're not reading the room.
Nope.
Yep, that's what it looks like, doesn't it? Well, so it would appear as though technology is trying to do that thing on us again. And let's see if we can get people into the room, and our live streams come back on in a minute. And then we'll be able to then say hello to you. But as the tempo and the beats of the drum has changed in terms of technology, we're going to move and do a different kind of dance. So at this point, let's look into the headlines. But just know that we're saying a big hello to you even as you click into the room this morning. Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard, and on The Standard today, exposed. It's going to make a few folks uncomfortable. In a chilling expose, The Standard uncovers messaging in WhatsApp groups run by government bloggers and officials, UDA secretarial staff, and parastatal chiefs, where they have been planning how to infiltrate peaceful protests in the city, generating propaganda aimed at media houses and prominent individuals seen critical of the government. The tactics include unleashing goons to cause mayhem, with clear instructions to steal smartphones from protesters to stop them from capturing images of the protests and police brutality. It is not a movie, it is actual things happening. It could be made into a movie, actually, now that I think about it. But what are some of the things that we're seeing? According to these messages that we're seeing, Chief of Staff Felix Koskei's office, we're seeing that mimi ningekuwa kwa nasod wacha abductions. Wow. Jeshi ni kuu ni wako ground. An eye for an eye. Wakenya wamejitokeza kupinga mapinduzi katika nchi yao. Enough is enough, they're saying. So according to this story, according to this headline, there's a WhatsApp group where people are making plans to infiltrate the peaceful protests, where people are making plans to do things that would be unheard of. And in this ring of people, there are people who've been named here. UDA propagandist Antonella Kakuko. We also have Elizabeth Waithira, who is Liz Wasakaja, apparently is what she's called, a political mobilizer. William Kamket, Tiati Member of Parliament, promised to supply goons. Don Peter Kamau is a UDA propagandist, also here. Calvin Zokoth, otherwise known as Gaucho, a political mobilizer. All of these folks, according to this headline, are said to be planning. This is what the headline says. We'll look into this story in just a bit. The High Court came out yesterday and made what would be otherwise known as a, what are those things called? Landmark ruling. And said that the shift deduction from gross salary violates tax law. That's the headline. So remember that we have three funds. This shift, which is where your contributions go, according to the court, is a violation of the law. We'll look into that as well. Agnes Kagure, remember her?
Yeah.
Do you remember her?
Yes.
Okay. She has lost a court battle for 600 million shillings Karen property. We'll look into details of that as well. So also this inside plot by state operatives to stop peaceful Gen Z anniversary protests. That's the story we'll come and focus on a little bit. The Treasury's quiet shift from grand finance bills to piecemeal amendments. Another story here. There are prayers for peace and justice, not bullets and tear gas, coming into Wednesday. Police civilians face murder trial over fatal assault of teacher Ojwang. We heard from the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions yesterday that they then now have grounds to charge a number of people for the murder of Albert Ojwang. That story we'll look into as well. And Muite urges court to jail Ruto, top officials for IEBC Gazette defiance. I mean, for goodness sake, the court came out and said this thing unconstitutional, put a stop to all of this, let's figure this out. And we went ahead and said IEBC to start its work. Paul Muite says, excuse me, no, it's in violation of what you said. So how about we give them a sitting in jail? We'll look into that as well. So those are some of the headlines today in the Standard. Before Dennis does the star, do you have something on the digitals?
Let's see what we have on the digitals. Today technology is doing that thing, eh?
It is, eh?
It is doing that thing proper.
It's disturbing man picking.
Hey, it is doing that thing,
Okay,
Meanwhile,
before you do that, let's Okari give us what's in the Star.
Star.
All right, front page. Ruto crisis inside debt burden. Revenues and critical projects stall as state grapples with severe cash flow headache. Picture of Mbadi there on the front page. Then Farouk builds support for Ruto's 2027 re-election bid. So as the country gears up for another political cycle, a familiar face in President William Ruto's inner circle is stepping into the limelight, not with loud declarations, but with calculated moves at the grassroots. Farouk Kibet, the president's long-serving aide and confidant, is quietly laying the groundwork for Ruto's 2027 re-election bid, one county at a time. Then there's a story here. Brother's keeper or killer. Man acquitted in Famra. Prosecution failed to prove the charges of a murder beyond reasonable doubt. Then the story, just a follow-up on the debt crisis. Drowning in debt. Treasury robbing Peter to pay Paul. I thought I saw this somewhere, like last week or so. Scramble for Kalonzo in 2027 race. Pundits say whoever will get ex-VP's backing will likely get a head start in the election 2027. Tax oil, gas firms to pay for climate damages. Survey there. I think I'm done.
Yeah.
Aseto?
So let's go to the People Daily. And on People Daily, the main headline, anxiety in key cities over Gen Z demos. Now, the Ruto regime, which is blamed for the killing of young, brave Kenyans last year, faces an acid test as it confronts new protest with eyes on police conduct. And we have a story here on thrown under the bus, city police boss to be charged with Albert Ojwang's murder. And how the 2024 youth protests have pushed ODM to the edge. And we also have another story on SHA, how officials target employers who owe 21 billion shillings to SHA, as well as Attorney General and lawyers tussle over gazetting of REBC. That is where Paul Mwite is requesting, or rather asking court to jail both the president and the Attorney General. And there's a story, an interesting one, of use of placenta rituals as family planning method. So yeah, that is what we have on People Daily. But as we go to Taifa Leo, Isaac Mwaura, hakuna maandamano yoyote hapo kesho, endeleeni na kazi. Msemaji wa serikali Isaac Mwaura amepuuza ripoti kuwa kutakuwa na maandamano kesho. So the spokesperson has said, why are you demonstrating? There is no demonstration. Go to work.
Tower.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he has the powers more than the constitution.
Okay.
But it's in life. Gashagwa akome kutusi viongozi, yeye si malaika. You are abusing us as who? Are you the angel?
Who's asking him?
Shut up.
Who's asking
Other
him?
leaders are asking him to just shut up.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and we also have likizo fupi yaanza, walimu wakuu wakitua Mombasa. So likizo kuu is the half-term.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yay.
And the babies are home.
Yes.
My niece confirmed is home. Yeah, that baby girl just means a lot to me.
Okay, fantastic. Let's take a break and look at what's happening with traffic. And we can see, okay, so the live streams were doing that dance. And so what do? We changed they were doing that beat, so we changed the dance.
Yeah.
But we'll come back and continue. Guys, we see you logging in. And just a very good morning to you as we get into these conversations. Let's look into the headlines when we come back from this break. At 25 minutes to 7, good morning. This is The Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Oh, great! This June, the biggest Club World Cup ever held is here. The 2025 FIFA Club World Cup. Recharge your subscription on your current bouquet for 2 months and get upgraded free to the next higher bouquet for 60 days. A competition across the continent. 30 action-packed days of top-notch football from 32 best club teams from around the world. Recharge your subscription today to never miss a moment of a competition like never before. On the move, download StarTimes on and watch every goal, every moment, anytime, anywhere. StarTimes Sports, beyond passion. StarTimes, enjoy digital life.
Stefan Kuku provides the inspiration for Leipzig. This is not an announcement, it's a pact.
To plant trees and protect our environment.
To drive mentorship and education.
To grow businesses with funding and training.
To share with our communities.
Since 2020, we've honored this pact.
As we mark 5 years, we renew it because all impact begins with a pact. I&M Foundation, celebrating 5 years of impact. Powered by I&M Bank.
The weather with SpiceFM.
We're looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning, currently at 12 degrees. It's 12 and sunny. Already in Nakuru, partly sunny conditions at 13 into Njeri, while Eldoret at 12 will be sunny through Tuesday. 22 and cloudy in Mombasa and 24 and sunny already in Malindi. 19 and clear in Kisumu with cloudy conditions at 18 into Kakamega. Light rain showers this morning in Kampala, while it's cloudy at 22 into Dar es Salaam. Clear skies in Johannesburg at 8 degrees, while Mogadishu at 25 is sunny. And it's sunny at 14 in Addis Ababa. It's clear at 26 in Lagos with partly cloudy conditions at 23 in Kinshasa. We're looking into a sunny Beijing already at 34 going into Tuesday afternoon. And it's 13 and cloudy this morning in Paris with cloudy skies at 15 in London. Clear skies in New York Monday night at 30 coming into Tuesday. Highs of 35 and lows of 27.
Spice and everything Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
Okay, so not just yet, guys, but on the Thika Superhighway, guys have said, we need to get somewhere. We're going there now. So everybody's on the road, and there's some traffic coming in from Githurai. It's going to find its way past Kasarani and then out towards the Survey and then onto the Pangani underpass. So that's busy there. There's some traffic coming off of Waiaki, but it's not at a standstill, so that's moving along without an issue. And Ngong Road is already busy with traffic coming in from Ngong Town itself, Naivasha Road on the other side, and finding its way into the city slowly. Kangunda Road, not so bad. We're seeing some traffic then starting to form on the Eastern Bypass. Let's see what Tuesday has in store. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
By way of salutations, kila mtu amesalimiwa. Lydiah umesalimiwa zaidi na zaidi. Lydiah is even waving and smiling that beautiful smile. You guys, I think we need to take a picture and actually put it in the sands of time. Lydiah's smile is actually something. It's quite something.
No, we need to drag her here.
Something you've insisted.
Nipatieni kazi. Nivurute yeye.
Umlete. Okay.
I trust you can do that.
Okay.
With your training.
With your training. Tena with your training. We should be afraid of you.
I have gadgets.
Yeah, we know. I'm sure we even be
tasers and stuff.
Wow. Allow me not to comment much. So we're looking into headlines. Yes, guys, we did have a little bit of a technical hitch earlier, but that's is it technical or technological? One of the two. But we're back on.
Technological upset,
something like that. So just a little bit of a bump in the road, but we continue, right? So we're looking into some of these stories. And I want to share this one. It's on page 4 and 5 in Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard. And okay, I'm just going to say it again, guys. I'm greeting you. We are greeting you with the love of God. It's just that, our time has gone and that thing didn't allow us to say hi, but we see you and let's continue the conversation. Sawa. Revealed inside plot by state operatives to stop peaceful Gen Z anniversary protests. The Standard today exposes the faces behind the plan to have goons infiltrate Gen Z's peaceful protests slated for tomorrow. Powerful State House operatives, influential Rift Valley MPs, a number of UDA Secretariat employees, and State House senior employees, and some parastatal chiefs are at the helm of a secret operation to disrupt the protests called to commemorate the first anniversary of the June 25th, 2024 demos. The shadowy plot, backed by high-ranking officials within the ruling party, aims to unleash violence, chaos and theft to portray the protesters as violent. An investigation by The Standard has unearthed a disturbing web involving senior government figures, digital propagandists, and former mainstream journalists now embedded in state machinery. According to multiple insider accounts, the plan entails positioning goons in key protest zones across Nairobi Central Business District to unleash violence on demonstrators and malign protest leaders. Journalists and media houses seen as sympathetic to the Gen Z push have also been marked for smear campaigns, intimidation and ridicule. Leaked communication seen by The Standard, including multiple witness accounts, paints a dark mission, which include orders to snatch phones to prevent documentation of police brutality. Already, a significant number of phones stolen during last Tuesday's protests have been traced to operatives linked to the same political faction driving this plan. At the helm of this operation are two figures who have been holding secret strategy sessions with youth and leaders loyal to the ruling party, often convening under the cover of darkness. You know, there's a guy called J.J. Abrams. He's a super duper producer. And he would love stuff like this, because what it allows him to do is create a series so riveting that you would watch it over and over again. This is what it looks like to me. That these things are happening, the plotting, the planning, the who, the doing what. And you can actually do series episode after episode based on this stuff that we're seeing. And guess what? It's happening in Kenya. Not across the pond, right here.
Have you watched House of Cards?
Yes. That's what it is like, actually. The propaganda that goes on.
Yeah, Kenya's script is what you see in House of Cards. It's like copy-paste, only that is not real, and it was done in the US. But you look at how each chapter or each episode turns. Every day there's something new. Every day there's something new.
One would say it's the manuscript that is being used to run affairs. Just watch House of Cards and implement it, pretty much.
And tell you what, when you see new things every day, it means somebody's writing a script.
Yes.
These things are scripted. I'm just looking at this story, premeditated plans and on WhatsApp groups. So, I mean, it was clear how Tuesday turned out. You looked at how the goons were so organized. They were using all these different entry points into the CBD, targeting people at different choke points, robbing people. So what then this story is revealing, the plan for Kesho is targeting phones.
So that you can't document.
Yes, besides everything else, because I think the discovery is, with every protest you learn something new. So the discovery here is, at every corner someone is filming. And it's not necessarily a journalist.
No.
These are just the protesters themselves who are recording. You remember the case of Boniface? There are people around there filming multiple angles when it happened. And the police were not... They didn't care that somebody's filming. They just did it anyway. So if then the target is snatching phones, and I was reading somewhere here that there was a message in one of those WhatsApp groups that I've put an open bounty for my boys. For every phone you bring, I give you 5,000 shillings. You take it and know what to do with it. So the plan is Ibasimu, Peleka, you are given 5,000, plus that phone, go with it and do whatever you want to do with it. But we're treading on very dangerous grounds.
And you see,
here.
when you talk about documenting these, whatever happens, the atrocities, I remember even the case in Kasarani. Still, it's citizens who documented all that. So pretty much what they're trying to say here is we will make sure that there is nothing that incriminates us, and that the public must make sure mnakuja hapa na tutawapiga proper, and there's nothing you'll do about it.
I mean, if you listen to what Kamket was saying the other day, it was so chilling. And you know what came to my mind was quickly, I want to see what the NCIC is going to do. You've got clear evidence. This is a war cry. So if it's a question of mobilizing young people to move from West Pokot to Nairobi, to cause mayhem, you're openly saying it. I don't know why they would do that, but
you know why? impunity allows you to do that.
Oh, there you go.
Impunity is because you know that already there will be no consequences for your actions because previously you have done this. And you said, even when there is a body like the NCIC on ground, you will say things like that because you know that nothing is going to happen. So it allows you to behave in that manner.
But it's not the first time that Kamket is actually even being summoned by NCAC for such statements. So it is something that he's used to doing. Nothing is being done. Hence, we just embolden him to continue doing that. Because even on interviews on television, he's defended state abductions. He has been summoned over statements he's made in his own area that has led to bloodshed. So he's emboldened. Impunity is his life, pretty much.
What is shocking to me are the planners. So you've got, you'd assume when you're dealing with goons, you're talking about low-level, in quotes, managers who are getting these goons. But if you try to follow the money trail, the planning trail from where this is coming from, the Standard has established that the groundwork for the operation is being coordinated by government-affiliated digital strategies. So they've realized, because digital is becoming extremely powerful and all these things are being documented and shared on TikTok, on X, and on Facebook, and on Instagram and other platforms, deploy the same tactics, smear campaigns, I was reading here, that even target media organizations and journalists.
Yeah.
You can
in this report, I was watching this report yesterday, and they've actually even targeted media personalities who will be on ground documenting this and covering the process, saying we are sympathizers of demonstrators and they ought to deal with us. And you look at some of the statements here being made by Antonella. Marehemu watarajiwa wa Wednesday na Occupy State House and other protected areas la leni salama. Hiyo haraka ya kwenda Sayuni sijui umetoa wapi. You know why Sayuni? Sayuni is heaven. Utasafirishwa.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marehemu watarajiwa, the departed.
As crazy as it sounds, do you know why such an expose then is good? Because this expose comes a day before. And should anything happen untoward tomorrow, then you had the information previously.
Yeah.
If that can even be used as a good thing in terms of an explanation. But that for the people to come out and express themselves in one way and that there are plans to shut it down in such a violent manner, there's a problem. For goodness sake. And impunity reigns. It's the currency with which now you buy your way, into, lofty positions and out of, and, unwanted positions. That's what you do.
The Standard has established that thousands of rungus, wooden clubs, have been transported to Nairobi ahead of tomorrow's demonstrations. Last Tuesday, we saw they were all brand new, and you could tell the person who made them is just one individual. They were made from one place. The shape, size, length, and everything. It was just the same. They were all new. You know what that image reminded me? It reminded me, unfortunately, it's such a brutal reminder. 2007, when covering the post-election violence, there was a video that at the time we didn't have the TikToks and all that. But I remember there was a video clip that was aired in, I think, one of the TV stations where a supermarket, people went into supermarkets. You know where you go to the hardware section, where you've got the machetes and you've got the pangas.
Yeah.
They were all
sold out. Yeah.
To the point where I think that at the time there was a stop, that there was no stocking of pangas. If we're going back to those dark days, if 207 is not a reminder that we shouldn't ever be careless with how we speak, and we are joking with this. Guys, let me tell you, I've been to Somalia. I've been to countries that have no laws, no governments. Let me tell you, the experiences I've had in some of these countries where there is no law, everybody is a law unto themselves, criminal gangs run the towns. You don't want something like that happening to Kenya.
No,
you are enjoying too much freedom.
Guys,
you actually don't.
Yeah, and it only takes one person or two people to plunge a country into chaos.
Yeah.
We're joking with peace. We have no clue what peace really means until you miss it. 207 was just giving us that glimpse into we never want to go back there again. Same case with what happened in Rwanda. And I'm looking at this story, and this is how it started in Rwanda. It started with just normal stories, just pockets of violence in different places. Then all of a sudden, it's an escalation. Now, you have people who will actually shout and address young people on the microphones. When somebody says, Vijana mko tayari, they are not going there themselves. They're sending these same young people who are actually running back to their villages. Young people running back to their villages. Most of these guys are Gen Zs. And you put a family in danger. You put people's lives in danger. For how much? I'm just looking, guys, I'm looking at how much money these guys are being paid. You're being given 5,000 shillings to snatch a phone and then go sell that phone or whatever you want to do. I mean, whatever hustle you have is worth life taking for 5,000 shillings or for 2,000 shillings.
Let me tell you that if we look, we can draw parallels with this and what we see having happened in other places around the world. And it's not just when you look at the war that happened in the former USSR with Yugoslavia, for people who are still sitting in the ICC trials today, for people now who will be in jail for the rest of their lives. Felicien Kabuga was on the run for years, and then he was found in a hotel in Paris hiding like a dog. But you know what? These were sentiments that people made in public. They made them on radio. And as a result of that, these things happen. Listen to this. And I think you did. The other day, they were crying that Sakaja had brought a few young men with clubs to chase them around in Nairobi. Let me tell them this from Sigor. Come next week and you'll see that Pokot youth will be there.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing? That hundreds of thousands of people were murdered, women were raped, people were slaughtered to within an inch of their lives on the command of one person, on little pockets of things that we saw in these same barazas, on things that people said on radio in one word, and lives were snuffed out. It is not too much of a warning. It is not too much of a warning. It's not being sensationalist. It is not too much of a warning to put out before time. It's not being sensationalist. It's not being anti or pro anybody. It's being pro people. And that's what it is. We cannot be comfortable in this situation. NCIC should have been all over this thing.
All over the place, yeah. They should have been all over the place. You see, last week we were having a discussion here when we were discussing the East Africa region and the wars that do exist here. Look at the Sudan, the Janjaweed militia. What are they today doing to that country? Go to South Sudan and the statements and sentiments that have been given by leaders there. Even when you come to this country, 2007, 2008, I was in Eldoret town. You know, my uncle's house was burnt down. We lived with him in a house for around 3 months. Simply because of utterances that were made. You talk about machetes. I think it was around less than a kilometer. We could see people sharpening these machetes on the tarmac.
What?
In Eldoret, yes. The school I went to was an IDP center. Kids couldn't go back to school because the desks had been turned into firewood. That is the price of war. And we just got a taste of that. When will we ever learn that such statements have repercussions that you can never ever get out of? You know, we're talking about an individual whose house had just been opened that December. His house was razed down 5 days later. Just out of sentiment, yet we never learn.
We don't seem to. This is a conversation that takes up a lot of what we're going to be discussing when we have Babu Owino in at 7 o'clock. But if you allow me, I want to share this story about Shift because it's one that has grabbed the headlines for a while. Shift deduction from gross salary violates tax law, according to the High Court. High Court has flagged a significant error regarding mandatory contributions to the Social Health Insurance Fund by salaried workers, declaring the current deduction model as illegal and amounting to double taxation. So I don't know, are they going to give people our money back? In his judgment, Justice Chacha Mwita ruled that 2.75% deduction from gross income contravenes the law, which only permits income tax to be levied on gross earnings. Okay? There can be no other gross income from which the person can again contribute 2.75% to the fund under SHIA, which is the Insurance Authority, and the regulations made thereunder. Any subsequent or other statutory deductions based on the person's gross income after income tax is undoubtedly double taxation. Charge or levy, because the same gross income will have been taxed more than once under the Income Tax Act. So you can't say now you're going to charge on gross, then you come back after and then charge again after taxes have been removed. Essentially, that's what he's saying you're doing. And he's then gone on to say that he maintained that imposing the shift deduction after pay-as-you-earn taxes have been applied are unlawful and a financial burden on salary workers. By providing that a person contributes 2.75% of his or her gross income to the fund after paying income tax from the same gross income, the regulation introduces a negative element of taxation, which is double taxation, and would as a result make such a regulation unlawful. Now, I don't know if he gave recommendations after this, calling it unlawful, because then people will say, thank you very much, now please give us back our money.
But you say that the two things here. So the Ministry of Health released a statement. You saw the statement?
Yeah.
Yes.
Regarding the same thing. So there's an argument here that they acknowledge that the High Court's decision in that petition challenges the transition of data from the National Health Insurance Fund to SHA, as well as the statutory 2.75% contribution to the Social Health Insurance Fund, SHIF. So they are saying that this is not really final. There's another case that is pending. So it's still not clear. Pesa zitarudi ama zitarudi. That's what people want to hear.
Yeah.
Will it come back is the question.
Will it though?
Okay. Well, we'll see, because what does that mean?
Yeah.
That, after this money is removed, do we now see that, after it's removed, will we now see that people will get their money back? Will it come back as a different kind of tax? Those are the questions that are being asked right now this morning. Okay, so those are some of the stories that we're looking at. Just look at one more before we go back into it. Mwite urges court to jail Ruto top officials for IEBC Gazette defiance. Senior counsel Paul Mwite yesterday urged the 3-judge High Court bench to sentence President William Ruto, Attorney General Dorcas Oduor, and Head of Public Service Felix Koskei to 2 years in prison for contempt of court. Mwite, representing petitioners Kelvin Omondi and Boniface Mwangi, accused the executive of willfully defying a binding court order that had halted the gazettement of 7 newly nominated Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission commissioners appearing before Justices Roslyn Aburi, John Chikiti and Bahati Nyamue. Mwite argued that the actions of the President, Attorney General and Head of Public Service amounted to a blatant violation of judicial authority, thereby undermining the rule of law and constitutionalism in Kenya. Again, I don't know what they would do about that, but those are the things that we are looking at.
But you see,
now,
if you look at it, I mean, a court pronounced itself on the same. So by the time even the president goes ahead and acts in such a manner that disrespects court orders, he's contempt of court. He should face justice like any other person.
Indeed.
That's pretty much what Mwite is saying. No one is above the law, including the president.
Well, let's see. I mean, it's going to be an interesting time ahead, because there's so many pots that are boiling at the same time, for us to then be able to look into those issues and to then discuss them as they come along. This is Kenya's Biggest Conversation. We continue. Good morning at 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
As Kenya prepares to mark the first anniversary of the Gen Z-led anti-government protest tomorrow, Independent Medical Legal Unit has said 63 Kenyans were brutally killed during the unrest. The IMLU has called for an independent and swift investigation into the killings, as well as 63 cases of kidnapping and torture of protesters. The organization condemned the impunity over these human rights abuses by police officers.
Article 1 of the Constitution of Kenya states that all sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya and shall be exercised only in accordance with this Constitution. This report therefore points to the urgent need to safeguard the provisions set out in the Constitution of Kenya.
Meanwhile, Gen Z activists in Mombasa and Kisumu have formally notified the police of their planned peaceful protest tomorrow, demanding adequate security. Human rights activists have called on the government to be accountable and address the demands of the people, emphasizing the need for justice for victims of last year's Gen Z protests. At a press conference, the activists rejected government claims that they are funded by foreign organizations, saying their actions are driven by the voices of the people. They criticized the government for ignoring the arguments and refusing to engage in meaningful dialogue.
We did not create a job for serial killers whose activities we fund from our taxes.
Ukweli Part and Kongamano la Mapinduzi have a wide membership base. They work with other organizations and they work with the masses. Simply joined forces with other patriotic Kenyans to demand full and expeditious accountability for the crimes committed by the Ruto administration in the context of the unlawful crackdown that has gone on since June last year.
The High Court has ruled that the mandatory 2.75% social health insurance fund deducted from gross income amounts to double taxation and is therefore illegal. Justice Chacha Mwita stated that only income tax should be deducted from gross pay, adding that any further statutory deductions on the same income violates the law. The case was filed by 4 doctors who argued that the SHIF scheme is costly, offers less coverage than private insurance, and was imposed without consent. They also raised concerns about the transfer of personal data from NHIF to the new Social Health Authority without proper safeguards, despite the ruling no orders were issued due to a pending appeal. The government insists SHIF is mandatory for all Kenyans to support universal health coverage. Inspector General Police Douglas Kanja has assured that Boniface Kariuki, who was shot by police during last Tuesday's protest in Nairobi, will find justice. Central Region Police Commander Samuel Ndanyi delivered Kanja's message to Kariuki's family in Kangemi area of Murang'a County when he visited the family alongside other police chiefs.
On behalf of Inspector General of the National Police Service, Mr. Douglas Kanja, we are here not just as police officers, but as a fellow Kenyan to offer you our sympathy, to stand with you, and to say that we feel your pain and we share in your difficulties at such a time. We are part of the communities we serve, and when one of us is hurt, all of us are affected.
Embattled Deputy Inspector General Police Eliud Lagat and Eric Ndambuki, one of the remandees claimed to have participated in the murder of Albert Ojwang, have been dropped from the list of suspects. Following public pressure, Lagat stepped aside and ultimately recorded a statement before IPOA, which opted not to recommend charges against him. Although Ndambuki had been adversely mentioned in Police Constable James Muhwana's damning statement before IPOA, he too was yesterday not among those who appeared before High Court Judge Diana Mochache to face murder charges. Lagat's lawyer Cecil Miller said Lagat told IPOA that he had nothing to do with the murder. Miller said Lagat explained to IPOA that he only complained about Ojwang just like any other Kenyan, but was not involved in anything else afterwards. The U.S. Supreme Court has cleared the way for President Donald Trump's administration to resume deportations of migrants to countries other than their homeland. By 6
3, the justices reversed a lower court order requiring the government to give migrants a meaningful opportunity to tell officials what risk they might face being deported to a third country. The court's 3 liberal justices dissented from the majority ruling, saying it was rewarding lawlessness. The case involves 8 migrants from Myanmar, South Sudan, Cuba, Mexico, Laos, and Vietnam who were deported in May on a plane set to be heading for South Sudan. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can't run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Traffic.
Okay, so let's take a look at what's going on the streets this morning. It's still a bit of a cloudy day and the fog is up, so you're going to need your lights if you're driving through the city. Take a quick look. There's traffic already formed on the Thika Superhighway coming in heavy all the way from that Githurai area through towards the Allsops Junction and then onto Survey. So that is busy there. There's also traffic on forming on Kiambu Road, bumper to bumper as you approach Karura. I don't know now which gate this is, but there is some here. And also on Waiaki Way, as you're trying to get into the city, it is very, very busy. Traffic also forming in different parts here and there, but nothing at a bumper to bumper state just yet for us to be too worried about, except on the Eastern Bypass, where it's snailing along, finding its way towards Cabanas at the interchange, and then we'll see some traffic then spill over to Mombasa Road. Let's keep each other informed, shall we? Keep things moving this Tuesday. SpiceFM, KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
Okay, so coming in at 9 minutes after 7 o'clock, a very good morning to you, and getting into the conversations this morning, and where I am then able to ask you a question. And do you imagine a better Kenya, and are you compassionate, or are you passionate about a better Kenya? For the past 5 years, the I&M Foundation has been making a real difference. They also too are passionate about making the country a better one, or seeing it in better light. And the social investment arm of I&M Bank Kenya is the I&M Foundation, and for the past 5 years they've been putting away 2% of the bank's annual profit. It's the highest commitment in the Kenyan banking sector into impactful programs. Their work focuses on vital areas like education and skills development, economic empowerment, and enabling giving. Today we want to highlight their leadership in environmental conservation. The I&M Foundation is dedicated to protecting our precious natural heritage through strategic partnerships and community-driven initiatives, ensuring a sustainable future for all. They believe in impact, and are achieving it through focused action. As we renew our pact to keep impacting, learn more about I&M Foundation's vital work and how you can potentially collaborate by visiting imbankgroup.com/foundation to learn more. Powered by I&M Bank.
And if you are a business owner, I'm sure you are counting costs of buying stuff, products, payments, and all that, transactional cost cutting into your bottom line. If yes, you need capital to grow. If your answer is yes, well, I&M Bank is powering your hustle with the I&M Solo Biz account. Lower your costs with free bank to M-Pesa and Airtel money transfers. Receive customer payments easily with Lipa and I&M, but there's more. Need to restock? Use Jazza Stock. Fulfilling a big order? Get LPO financing, plus access unsecured business loans of up to 5 million shillings. Stop just running a business and start growing it. Open your individual or solo biz account today via the I&M Bank on-the-go application.
Fantastic. So, the member for Embakasi East, member of parliament for Embakasi East is Babu Owino. He will be with us in a short while, even as we continue these conversations. And I thought about this, and also just seeing comments that are being made and questions that are being asked in terms of what will happen tomorrow, and that should that deter the spirit of a memorial, or should that deter the spirit of pushing for certain things that what we see is as the embodiment of this protest, and that the protest brings together people from around the country. It doesn't is not drawn by any kind of tribal lines, but it's drawn along the lines of for the people. Should people now be scared with some of these things that we see? And if there's any kind of fear, how should that actually be countered? I think that forms the basis for what we talk about this morning. And, you know, it seems as though there's already a head-hanging, position that we are taking. And I'm not... It's a place where I'm saying, well, not quite sure how to deal with that if it is actually fear.
I mean, one would hope that with the statements that have been made to try and create fears for those who want to demonstrate, to come out, one would hope that the relevant bodies, talk about NCIC, the police would move in and try and actually deal with individuals who are making these statements, conduct investigations and ensure that those would come out tomorrow, because the police have also agreed that they've received the notice and that they'll be there to protect protesters. We hope that that will be the case, that those who've made inflammatory statements, action is taken against them. Because then again, remember, the Constitution gives Kenyans rights to come out and demonstrate. Then again, it is 1 year of Kenyans who died on the streets fighting for their rights. One would only hope that even as we commemorate 1 year, that security agencies would be there to offer security, and only hope that things will be peaceful,
Let's look at why, beyond the anniversary, because what happened last year was like a stain in the country. Like I said, we talk about that stubborn stain. Yeah. You can't wash it away. You can't wish it away. You have to live it. In the history of this country, it will be a stain. There was blood that was spilled. There are people who died. There are families that are still mourning. They are hurting. People are angry. But we don't lose sight of some of the demands for last year, because you sort of see like a carry, it's like carrying forward what they were really pushing for. And look, I was just looking at the Standard. The Gen Z demands remain unmet. They wanted President William Ruto out of office. He's still in office. Ruto is still in office. No steps have been taken toward impeachment or resignation, because there's a constitution at the end of the day. They wanted the cabinet dissolved. The status, only a few cabinet secretaries were sacked or reshuffled. The core of the cabinet still remains intact. They demanded the withdrawal of the Finance Bill 2024, Well, the status is the bill was passed into law, though a few contentious clauses were later amended after public pressure. They demanded reduced cost of living and taxes. Status: basic commodities such as fuel, electricity, and food remain expensive. Most taxes introduced remain in effect. They demanded an end to police brutality, which still formed the basis of the agreement, the NADCO agreement between the ODM and the Kenya Kwanza government. Status: several protesters were injured or killed during the protests. No significant police reforms have actually occurred. They wanted youth unemployment tackled. Status: no major employment programs targeting Gen Z have been rolled out. Unemployment remains high, although there was that rollout plan of taking people abroad, which, again, there are issues around it. They wanted accountability in government spending. The status currently, as things stand, scandals of government procurement and public finance continue. Transparency remains poor. They called for a repeal of punitive digital laws used to silence dissent. The status: laws such as the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act are still in place. Arrests of online activists continue. So you're looking at last year's demands versus the current status, and there's not a lot to write home about.
Yeah. Sadly, there isn't. And that pushes a conversation that we have at this hour to say, okay, well, we saw something that's quite tumultuous towards the mid of last year, and that was in the face of these protests. And as we continue that conversation this morning, necessary for us to continue, the Member of Parliament for Embakasi East constituency is here with us this morning. Babu Owino, good morning.
Good morning, Du. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Pleasure meeting you.
Again.
Sasa deno.
Fiti sana babu.
Uko fiti?
Salama labda wewe.
Niko sawa kabisa.
Traffic ilikuwa imekushika kidogo eh?
Mazee nimekuja mbio sana hata ni kama abductee alikuwa hapo ndani.
Hauna cheska?
Mimi nina drive to myself. You know, you just take life easy.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Another deno here as well.
Yeah.
We are surrounded by them. Karibu sana. As we go into this conversation, we're going to welcome you the way we normally do. Dennis is going to share today's proverb. He'll tell you where it's from, and then we would like to get your interpretation of it.
Okay. It is from a home that is known as the birthplace of coffee. We continue to fight with them about marathons here and there, who's the best. So we're talking about Ethiopia. And the proverb that you're getting from them is when the drum beat changes, the dance must also change. When the drum beat changes, the dance must also change. How would you interpret that?
Thank you. I think when the drum beat changes, the dance must always change. It means that you have to change with time. You must never be stagnant into your old self. Things are evolving. And there is revolution of things. And the moment things evolve, the more they evolve, the more you need to change and catch up with the current issues. Not staying in your old skin, as some are doing in the government.
We can't ignore that hook. But thank you for that interpretation. Interesting to hear. We are coming, it's interesting because an eve, 24th to the 25th, we're at the eve of 1 year to the finance protest, which is finance bill protests, which took place last year, and that were characterized heavily by Gen Z in terms of who was out and demanding for certain things. You were at the gates of Parliament last year, and you were very clear about what your position was and hoping that there would be some kind of peace or an end to this kind of conflict and not to see lives lost. Do we see that from last year until now, we're going towards tomorrow where there has been a promise of a peaceful protest to mark and remember the lives of those who were lost, but also to continue to push for good governance in the country on the part of the people? What are your thoughts in terms of how things have changed between then and now?
I think there are slight changes, but not so much. And this nation just needs a push. And I think that the language that the government listens to is a language of pushing. The government hears, and hears brings a reaction. When you listen, then you will respond. So they don't listen, they hear Kenyans. And they think that every other thing that Kenyans are saying does not add up. They think that the people are always right. And if you ask me what happened last year, the juice was worth the squeeze because there was high cost of living, which still there is. There was high taxation, which still there is. There was unemployment rate, which was so high, which still there is. And I believe that these Gen Zs, Kenyans, were fighting for a just cause. It is a cause that they saw that at least they were already finished. And so the only thing that could help them was to go on the streets, because they've been talking to leaders, consulting leaders, ensuring that leaders are asking leaders to help them fight for their own challenges. But these leaders kept off. Leaders took one side, save for a few. And then they said that the Constitution is so clear in Article 1 that the power, the sovereignty belongs to the people. Then they said that this nation is ours and we will not let it go just like that. And it pains when a parent educates a child way from nursery to primary to high school, then to the university, then this child does not get a job. This is the only hope of the family. This child is unemployed. And to make matters worse, at that particular point, there was the introduction of even the new funding model, where education was going to be expensive, and we know the role of education in economic development. Basically, it applies everywhere. We know how education is important to a child, and that education, we were being told that a parent was going to pay 100,000 to 300,000 to 600,000 for medical students. Then you ask yourself, for the mama mboga that were promised, the bottom-up agenda, that was the mama mboga that was promised that their business will graduate from selling a mboga in a kiosk to owning a supermarket. The boda rider from riding a boda all the way to owning a matatu. These people, when they go for their businesses, they earn 200, 300 shillings in a day. Some even 100, some even 50 shillings for the mama mbogas. Then you want to tell me that a mama mboga who has never held 10,000 shillings at once should accumulate to over 100,000 to pay fees for the child, knowing very well that this is the child, this is the comrade that is going to remove them from poverty. It was so sad. And I want to tell you that people like myself, I was of a completely different opinion and view. And I said that I would stick with the people. I was elected by the people. It is the people who lined up to vote for me. And therefore, I say that I will stick by the people. And I will be for the people, because I'm of the people. I'm a product of the people. And me jumping over the gate at Parliament was just a reflex action. I just found myself on the other side, because that is where I belong. I said that at this time, a line was drawn. A gate was between me. Either I chose to be with the oppressors or to be with the oppressed.
Do you think that the government of today is an oppressive government?
Very oppressive, and they need to change tact. They need to be tactful. And I want to tell you that tact means that there's a pope who used to say that every morning when I wake up, I must greet the devil. That is tact. Tact means that God has an opportunity to destroy the devil and nobody will ever sin. But he leaves the devil tactfully so that you and I can sin and go back to God. That is tact. Tact means that when you are driving and there's a car ahead of you, you have a right to overtake that car. But if there's an oncoming vehicle, another car oncoming, you will definitely crash and you will die. So you are right to overtake, but you are dead right. So you don't have to be dead right. You just buy time, let the other car pass, and then you overtake. The government is not tactful. The government has decided to be very oppressive, introducing so many things that are destroying the lives, from introduction of the new funding model, to punitive taxes, to high cost of living, to lack of jobs, to abductions. When we do all these things, we bring them once at a go. To even this issue that we keep on singing about, the housing, and we will discuss it to detail. In economics, housing is a private good, not a public good. It is not the work of the government to provide a public good, but to create an enabling environment for people to provide private goods for themselves. So to me, they've been blundering, making a mistake after the other. And I want to tell you that too much cruelty breeds hatred. And clearly, there's too much anger, there's too much cruelty, there's too much hatred towards the government.
Babu, I have a question.
Yes.
Can you just take us back to last year? Because tomorrow, 1 year on since the revolt, it seems to me, 1 year later, we are living in two different spaces. So if the political class, their language, their mannerisms, their demeanor, their statements, they sort of live in this world and this space of denial. And then you have the rest of the country on one side. This is 1 year later, and a lot has happened since then. Like you said, we've had extrajudicial killings, abductions, civil rights groups have been talking about, everybody has been talking about this. But take us back to last year, right before you jumped the fence. What was the mood like? What was the space within Parliament like? What was the space you were sharing with your colleagues? What were the conversations? Because I know the question then was the finance bill. But devoid of all that, just the mood of the country and the reason why the Gen Zs were going to the street. Did anybody really care? Did anybody really think, let's pay attention to this, let's listen to what's going on before we started seeing MPs fleeing Parliament buildings? What was it like?
You know, Dennis, the mood in Parliament was inversely proportional to the mood in the streets. People in the streets were fighting for a just cause. Majority of the people in Parliament were singing the voices of their bosses. And the bosses from the executive were like, pass the finance bill. We want to sign it into an act. We want to punish Kenyans. Leaders are living in a bubble in this country. We should not forget that these positions are temporary positions. Before Babu was a member of parliament, there was a member of parliament in that constituency. After Babu, there will be a member of parliament in that constituency. This position of leadership is about others. It's about being a servant. He who must lead must first of all agree to serve. That says the Bible. Therefore, as a servant of the people, you should not treat yourself as the boss of the people. You are not the boss. You are the servant of the people, because leadership is rare. It comes from God, and when God gives you an opportunity, you have to serve, lest you be punished like some leaders in the Bible. You remember King Saul. King Saul was very popular, given God's grace, but the moment he became arrogant, the moment he became proud, the moment he stopped listening to God, another king came into place, King David. And I want to urge leaders that a lot can happen. Remember King Uzziah, the same thing about pride. Leaders must be humble. The moment you're in that position, know that time is moving. You need to change lives, and change lives for the better. And I want
but did they learn? Did your colleagues in Parliament, with the events of last year, 1 year later, is there any lesson that has been learned? Is there any reflection? Is there any looking back? Like, let's listen to what the country is saying. Let's feel the pulse of the country. This is what they're really asking. Is there anything like that going on in Parliament?
There are those leaders who are pro-people. There are those leaders who are adamant, and they are behaving like Pharaoh. And you know, when God wants to destroy you, he makes your heart tough first, so that he sets you up against the people. And when God told Moses, you go, I will deliver my people from the bondage. Just go. What do you have? Just a stake. I hear the government always keeps asking that, what do they have? Moses only had a stake and delivered Israelites from the bondage. And God at the same time said, I will harden Pharaoh's heart not to release you. And that is what is happening in Parliament. People have become pharaohs in Parliament. And I want to assure you that that kind of reaction is not good at all for the Kenyan citizens. In Parliament, as you've said, there are those who are hell-bent that we will not change. This is the direction that we are taking. But there are those that have changed and are thinking for the future. There are those who are human. There are those who are small gods in that Parliament. But I want to tell them that time is coming where even those gods shall be destroyed.
Babu, we live at a time when tomorrow is the commemoration of 1 year since the Gen Z demos happened. And we have seen how other demonstrations as early as last week, what happened, and the killings that continue to happen. Police brutality continues to be there. And people are asking, what's the situation gonna be like tomorrow, and that is not so clear. And we also hear statements being made by the political class. William Kamket, the statement he made, allegations that Governor Sakaja sent goons to deal with protesters, and seems as though the political class is hell-bent in fighting the people. Where do you sit with that?
My brother Aseto, it is quite unfortunate in this country that a government is at war with its people. A government that should change the lives of the people has decided to attack the people. Last week, what we saw goons in the streets. We saw goons looting. We saw goons attacking people, assaulting people, stealing from people. We saw goons protecting their masters. And we saw those goons being given security by the state. The allegations about the governor of Nairobi, that is the one who brought the goons, and the goons themselves confessed. There's a goon who was beaten almost to death, and he was saying that he's been sent by the governor. And at the same time, the governor was at Kamagut, somewhere in Tarbo. In Uasin Gishu, the governor said clearly that the other demo you caught as unaware, and I quote verbatim, you caught as unaware. This time round we are prepared. I'm warning you. If you come to town, you will find me there. We will deal with you. This is a governor who campaigned on a siasa safi in policy initiative, or rather slogan. But this is a governor that whatever it touches turns into garbage. This is a governor that was elected right from 2007 when he worked for Kibaki, worked with a fake degree. When he was nominated in 2013 as a member of parliament, nominated with a fake degree. In 2017, elected as a senator with a fake degree.
Are these allegations?
In 2022, elected as a governor with a fake degree. It is in the public domain. And this is a governor that is working with a fake degree. That's why everything that he touches turns into garbage. If he touches Nairobi, Nairobi has turned into garbage. He even takes garbage to go and pour at Steamer Plaza. That tells you what kind of a brain that our governor has. Dennis, when you saw those goons, it was clearly communicating that we've gone low. We've gone low because the people that we promised to give jobs, the people that we promised to give bursaries, the people that we promised to promote their businesses, the people that we promised to work for, we are now working against. We are now attacking them. In Nairobi, a capital city. It was a shame, and we should condemn it, and the governor should be arrested.
What would you, one would hope that NCIC and other investigative agencies would have moved in to have all these individuals record statements and investigations commenced, but seems as though there is some silence. Is there any trust or hope that these bodies would work?
These bodies are not independent anymore. These bodies are dependent. They are depending on the executive. And these bodies act on instructions and political instructions just to deal with those in opposition. Those in government, none of these goons have been arrested so far. These goons are still there. None is even saying that these goons should be dealt with. And we don't know what may happen tomorrow. And tomorrow, I hear that they might bring the goons back, but this time round, they want the goons to loot so that the police to keep off, the goons to loot so that they play into the public gallery and get the sympathy. And so I want to urge Gen Zs that as you are always organized, be organized the way that you are. I know some people are planning to antagonize, but be organized. Just keep an eye to the ball. Never lose the sight of a gazelle for a dashing squirrel. Just keep focused. The moment you are focused, even if these goons come, isolate them and keep focused to what you want to achieve, because the government wants to achieve a different agenda altogether.
What surprises me is that this is so we are surprised that it seems abnormal, that we lost the opportunity to be shocked that this kind of impunity that we see, whether it's alleged or true, did not start with the protests in June 2024. That we have seen where there has been sanitizing of terrible behavior across line, that extrajudicial killings and abductions and corruption and all of those things did not start with the protests last year where people were killed. that we have seen that there has been an agreement of a lot of these things coming straight from the House of Parliament, that there has been laundering of behavior and it has been seen to come forth as gold. And then now we are surprised when somebody can actually invite goons into a peaceful protest. We shouldn't be surprised, Babu. We shouldn't be surprised. Parliament has failed the people of Kenya over and over and over again. That there have been supposed laws that have been passed by Parliament which are directly against the people. How can that happen in the House and then we come into the street and condemn the things that are happening to people? It's the same thing. If we were to put on a balance, the lady who holds both, the justice lady, it would be balanced, because the same atrocities happen in the House. It's just dressed up in a suit, but in the street it's holding a machete. There's no difference.
We completely don't have a parliament as we speak, because parliament is supposed to be independent. Parliament is supposed to oversight. Parliament is supposed to represent. Parliament is supposed to legislate. Parliament is making laws that are individual based, laws that are going to please an individual. We have to make laws for posterity, laws for the future, laws for our future children. But the laws that we are making are laws that are going to impress those in power. So Parliament is dependent, not independent. And all these problems are coming from Parliament, because if we had a serious Parliament, we would not even be in this debt crisis in this country. If we had a serious Parliament, we would not have these punitive taxes that Kenyans are demonstrating against. And if you see that some members of Parliament are coming out in public to say that you attack these people, these are voters, these are our people. Why don't we listen to their cries? Why don't we sit down? If God himself says, my children, come, let us sit and let us compare notes. Why can't we sit down as human beings? Why can't we just say that these people have challenges? We were elected as leaders. We know there will be challenges. We don't treat them as problems without solutions. We treat them as challenges and look for solutions. Only that. There is no any person who is a mad person who will go in the streets if some of these challenges are solved. But you have the solutions and you still want to take law into your hands and then destroy those who elected you. Then who will you have? You know, when Dennis, when we remember the Montevideo conference, it talked about a state. And it stated clearly that for a state to exist, there must be a few factors into consideration. That a state must have an existing government. That a state must have a definite territory. And lastly, that a state must have the people. If you finish the people, you will not have a state. If you finish the people, you as a leader, who will you have to lead? These people are crying. It's just a simple cry. They are saying that we can't pay fees. It's too much for us. Please reduce it. Why don't you just do so? They are saying that there's high cost of living. We can't afford this. Why are you doing so? They are saying that this house that you are deducting 2.75%, you are deducting this amount of money from my slip, it is reducing my disposable income, and therefore I cannot manage my bills by the end of the month. I cannot do anything. Just remove this. Why don't you just do that? The juice becomes worth the squeeze, right? The moment you just help the people and protect their inherent interests.
But Babu, the accusation is this is all coming from government. Your party is in this same government. From a party standpoint, and talking to your colleagues from your party, with all these things going on, is there any reflection going on? Why are they still part of what you would refer to as a government that is very punitive, as you called it earlier on? What's going on within your party?
Dennis, I will tell you that ODM is Orange Democratic Movement. The democratic part of it gives people like Babu a space to be democratically divergent in opinions, to have their own opinion, the democratic part of it. Those who are in government chose to be in government, I have not even read the cooperation between Ruto and Baba, between ODM and UDA.
But have you read the NADCO report?
I did read the NADCO report, and we were supposed to implement the NADCO report, but ever since it's under the table.
The NADCO report spoke about extrajudicial killings, talks about compensation, talked about youth employment, amongst other things. All these key things that touch on why the Gen Zs have been going to the streets, none of them are actually being addressed.
None has been implemented. And Dennis, I will not dwell so much into the party affairs because personally, even a sweeper in ODM is more powerful than me. Has more information than Babu Owino.
Why? Are you trying to say you've been knocked out?
So respectfully, I will stick with the people. I will leave party affairs to be addressed by the relevant party structure so that at least they can handle that, so that I don't go so much into it. But however, there are certain things that I read into that were enshrined in the NADCO report that should be implemented. Yes.
Is there hope that the political class will finally listen to the Mwananchi, the person who's donated the power? Because then again, the constitution says the power belongs to the people. The leadership of the country pretty much enjoys donated power. Yet look at every other turn, every other corner that you take, looks as though the leadership class, especially those in parliament, seem to be singing the choir master's song and not listening to the people and singing the song that the people want them to sing. Is there hope that parliament will finally listen and act right?
We should not have hope that leaders should listen to the people. Leaders should listen, not hoping. We should not hope that they will one day. They should. They were elected to listen to the people. And I told you, listening brings response. Hearing brings reaction. They are just hearing. They are not listening. And I urge leaders in parliament, at the county level, at the executive level, we were elected to serve. Let us serve. You might not do 100%, but do above 50%, you shall have succeeded. It is above the pass mark. It will transform lives. It will change lives. We should not hope that they will listen. We should not beg leaders to work. Leaders were elected to work. Themselves, they were giving promises while they were campaigning that they will do 1, 2, 3. Let them stick to that. Let them deliver. We should not turn against our people. A leader who turns against his people is a bad leader. Is a leader who should never be re-elected. Is a leader who should not even ask for any seat, seek for any seat. Is a leader who should ask for forgiveness.
Babu, as we get towards tomorrow, the mood in the country is that of fear. Kenyans want to rightfully so exercise their right to demonstrate, to picket, and equally just raise petitions. But no one is sure, first of all, of their security. This is based off what they've seen, police brutality, and how they've been attacked. There is also the statements that are coming from the leaders out there, from where it is you sit and the mood in the country. What is the assurance that everything will happen and act as per the law tomorrow?
The Constitution protects every Kenyan citizen who peaceably pickets, demonstrates, presents petitions. The Constitution itself is the apex of the law. There is no any other bigger law than the Constitution. President is not bigger than the Constitution. No one is bigger, no member of parliament, no governor, no leader is bigger than the Constitution. Not even Wananchi is bigger than the Constitution. The Constitution is the apex of the law and protects the right to picket in Article 37. Therefore, people will be scared. There will be a lot of fears, fear-mongering. But I want to urge the people to stick eyes on the ball. I know that the only person who can fear is a person who has something to lose. These people have nothing to lose. These people have no jobs. These people have no fees. These people have no food. So therefore, they have nothing to lose. The only thing that they have to lose are the chains that are tying their minds. But I want to tell you, even with the fear, change must come.
Do you think that these protests that happened last year bore fruit that we can get seeds from to plant again? Do you think that there was something that moved the needle as a result of the protests?
Because people are still crying, it means that there is no significant change. Because people are still in the streets, it means that there is no significant change. Tomorrow, people are going to mourn their loved ones. to be in solidarity with the victims who were extrajudicially terminated or maimed. Tomorrow they are going in the streets to cry about unemployment, to cry about high cost of living, to cry about high taxation, to cry about high cost of education. That is what they are going to do. Today, if the executive comes out, the president comes out and says that my sons and daughters, I've heard you. These challenges that you're having, I want to solve them and to solve them in this way. And this is the example that I will use to solve them. Do you think there will be protest? And he ensures that they are solved. We have solutions, but we don't want to give solutions. We just want to see people in the streets.
I mean, Babu, let's talk about the civic space. You once led many protests as Sonu chair,
yes,
at the university.
Yes.
What changed? What changed between your generation of activism or activists and what you now see today as the Gen Z's activism? Do you see a change in that space?
When I was at the university, we were demonstrating, and demonstrating rightfully for the right cause. When help delayed, we went on the streets so that help could be released. And any student who didn't have help could not go to class because there was no money for fees. Without help, you could not get accommodation because you didn't have money to pay for the rent. Without help, you couldn't get food. Without help, you couldn't even get transport to come from the village all the way to town. You had to borrow. And if help delayed, Babu could take students to the streets. And that was a very just cause. If the time Professor Kaimenyi wanted to increase university fees, he was the then Education Cabinet Secretary, Minister. When he wanted to increase education fees, Babu said, enough is enough, we can't do this. There was demonstrations across the country in all the universities, and the government kept off. It was a just cause. In case of any insecurity in the country, we were fighting for this so that the government could provide security to students. It is an exact replica of what the Gen Zs are doing. The Gen Zs have come out and said enough is enough, opposition is in bed with the government, and therefore we must fight for ourselves because there is nobody else who will fight for us. And they've ensured that they are keeping the government in check through the doctrine of separation of powers, checks and balances, which was opined by a great man called Charles Louis de Montesquieu, the Baron, in France in the 1950s, around 1957. If then there was that doctrine to keep checks and balances on this government, what about now? That is what the Gen Zs are doing. The Gen Zs are within their rightful position to keep checks and balances on the excesses of the government. And therefore, the similarity between my demonstrations at the university and the Gen Z's demonstrations is that we are both advocating for the rights of the people. We are both ensuring, I was ensuring that I was fighting for the rights of students. The Gen Z's are ensuring that they are fighting for their own rights. That is the similarity. And the difference is almost the same.
Although you may argue, back then in your days, people can say there was also a lot of heavy influence from the political class then. And you look at the protests we have now, the Gen Zs are saying they don't want politicians involved in their just cause. They want to go do it alone. And the disappointing thing amongst many is even at the time when they were really fighting to have young leadership, youthful faces in parliament, in positions of government, they've ended up being even more disappointed because the very outspoken ones are not even the older members of parliament, for example. It's actually the very youthful members of parliament. You look at the quality of debate in the National Assembly. Again, disappointments there where you would then expect that there is debate that really touch on very young people. Just from your point of view, because you're a young legislator, is there hope to having young leaders then if in the past all these disappointments pointing into the future, we keep saying we want fresh faces, we want fresh blood. But the same people get into positions of power again are the ones who lead into these kind of things that we're seeing in the papers today.
You know, Dennis, when you become greedy, your vision becomes blurry. Greed blurs vision. And the greed that is among some of the leaders, some of the young leaders, youthful leaders, some of them is not good because they are compromised already. And their vision becomes blurry. And I always say, that a woman who falls for a man with a television and leaves a man with a vision will soon see the man with the vision in her husband's television. You've heard that?
I got it.
Yes, a man who falls for money or a woman who falls for money and leaves a vision, that person is completely destroyed. That vision becomes blurry. However, there's hope, Dennis. A youthful leader like Babu Owino was ranked as the best member of parliament in this country, InfoTrack research. Performed as the best in terms of development track record. When you go to Embakasi East, when you take your call and call any member of Embakasi East constituency, they will tell you that Babu has been working. Matters education, matters security, matters roads, matters bursaries, matters water. Babu has worked. And there are those leaders who are also working. We have the likes of Ndindi. It's really trying. We have leaders who are trying. However, there are leaders who are youthful but are not working. So I want to say that Kenyans have an opportunity to replace such leaders in 2027.
But are you then saying, Babu, because the example you've just given, and we've seen this in the country through every election cycle, at the level of MCA or even a member of parliament, they will always do good. They will be the best. They will rank among the best. The moment they just go a step higher to a higher position, for example, the office of the governor, suddenly things change. Right now, there's a conversation of, it's an unbelievable conversation of people who Kenyans trusted. People put their trust in some of these leaders, very smart people, but all of a sudden they change 360 turn. With all the good intentions and their very good rich history, they get, what happens when people, you've talked about greed, but what exactly happens when then you get to that level? Because I know you want to be governor of Nairobi at some point, right? What happens when you get there and then Babu changes because you've got this good track record, like you're saying, but then the moment you get there, beyond greed, is it also a question of capture?
You know, Dennis, power and money don't change a person. Power and money brings out who you are, reveals who you are. If you are born bad, power and money makes you worst. If you are born good, power and money makes you better or best. So it reveals who you are. Because it only provides, a bigger position provides a bigger environment to make you that bad person, who you are, or that better person, who you are. Babu Owino having been a member of parliament, since Sonu days you heard that Babu was talking, was working. Babu was swinging, not just singing, was busy working, and people will tell you that during the days, Babu could fight for students. When Babu was elected as a member of parliament, you can hear, and you even saw Babu being ranked as the best member of parliament in Kenya out of the 290 members of parliament, while in opposition. Then it tells you that when Babu is given a bigger position, Babu only needs a bigger position to bake a bigger cake for everybody to eat.
Not to eat the cake yourself.
A bigger cake for everybody to eat, not just for me.
Yeah.
And that tells you that my interest as a leader, when I was in Nyalenda slums, my mom raised me while selling changa. Dennis, today, a child in Kibera, a child in Madari, a child in Roysambu, if they tell me that they are going without food, I know what it is to go without food because I lacked food at some point. I slept without food. If a parent tells me today that a child has been sent away from school because of fees, I lacked fees at some point and I know what it is to lack fees. And when I left Nyalenda, coming to Nairobi, I came to Nairobi with one agenda. And I prayed to Almighty God that every day, when you remove me from these slums, from Nyalenda slums, I will never forget about your people. And I have a covenant with God not to forget about his people. Because I know it is God who removed me from that slums. From the slums and any slums in this country, it's not easy to come out. You may have even a degree, but you still go back to the slums. But if you come out from it, it is just the work of the Almighty God. And therefore I know also that these positions are temporary. I know, Dennis, that today you find me as a member of parliament. Tomorrow you see me as a governor. The day after that you see me as a president. Then after that, again I know, very well conversant, that you will see me also as a person who has served and gone. We had Kibaki, left. We had Moi, left, very powerful. We had Kibaki, left. We had Uhuru the other day, left. We have William, he will leave. So by the end of the day, these positions are temporary. The question is, what legacy do you want to leave behind? A legacy of destruction or a legacy of change for the better?
When you talk about legacy, there is the House of Parliament where you currently sit, and one would hope that questions would be brought there, talk about petitions, even just following up on the Gen Z protest that happened, and nothing seems to be happening in that House. There is the other subject of Parliament has been captured, but on an individual position as Babu Owino and other leaders of like mind that you are with in the House, I mean, why aren't we seeing any moves or movement in terms of just bringing those who committed these atrocities to these young people to account?
As we all agree that Parliament has been captured. And I want to tell you that many are called, a few are chosen. Many will be called. Many are called in Parliament. But a few, like Babu Owino, are chosen. And are chosen to do the right thing. Are chosen to work for the people, are chosen to advocate for justice. And I will continue speaking. It might be one voice, but in the beginning, there was the Word. And the Word was with God. And the Word was God. In the beginning, we don't have to be the majority. But one person with God is the majority. We will speak.
But that
we
majority,
will speak on behalf of the people.
That majority of people are they're all in one place and they're represented by the same needs. That I think a lot of people are still in shock that people can be killed in such a brutal manner. Yes, we are seeing yet another young man has been abducted. We don't know where Wahome Thuku is. That somebody can be protesting in the streets of Nairobi and shot. He's still fighting for his life in hospital. And that the death of Albert Ojwang, maybe somebody wants to sweep it under the carpet, but it's still very fresh in our minds. That I think the shock is that such brutal things can happen, and that we're okay waking up every morning and going about business as usual. And we have legislators in place. We have a government in place. And these things are almost normal. And it's almost as though we are waiting for the next one to happen. It sounds so uncomfortable to say, but people are waiting for death and destruction and violence to happen tomorrow so that we can say, okay, how do we deal with it? How are we comfortable operating in such a space? And we have legislation in place. And people sit there 3 times a week, twice a week they go to their constituencies. I'm not blaming anybody, and it's all collective effort, but how have we gotten so comfortable to the place whereby such suffering comes and we wait for the next one?
You know, it is sad, it is very sad, Ndu, that the people that we entrust with our lives and our properties to protect them are the same people who are responsible for taking the lives and also taking the property. You saw some police officers stealing laptops. Clearly, this is a situation where you give a hyena a proposal to write on how to keep the goats. The hyena will write a proposal on how to eat the goats instead. We have Albert Ojwang, who died in under very unfortunate circumstances. Albert Ojwang, the dad said clearly that he was mining stones, kokoto, ballast, for many years, just to educate Albert, being the only child. The dad did everything that they could do, and there are so many parents outside there who wake up very early in the morning, going to sell mboga, going to ride border border, going from Jengo, going to Lima people's shambas every morning with an intention to pay school fees, with an intention to bring food on the table, with an intention that this child that is being educated will one day transform their lives. Then after educating a child, goes to the university, there is no job, hopelessness. Or succeeds to get a job like Albert and now should help the parents. Then the police officer comes, identifies them, they identified themselves, procedurally followed every procedure that should be followed. Then takes Albert away, brings Albert to Nairobi to kill Albert in a police cell. How unfortunate, how sad. To add salt into this injury from the frying pan into the fire is that when people are going to seek for justice in the streets, a police officer again shoots with an intention to kill another young man whose only mistake was to sell masks. Do you know what it is to go in the streets during demonstrations with tear gas and risking lives?
Are you going to be there tomorrow, by the way?
And risking life, I'll explain that. And risking life, just for you to sell a mask to take food home. It is quite unfortunate. It is so sad. About the issue of tomorrow, Gen Zs are very organized. Very, very organized. You stated clearly here, the Gen Zs, I don't want to take advantage of the Gen Zs protests. And they said clearly we don't want politicians to take advantage of our protests.
Yeah.
I'm an advocate of the High Court. I know that some may be arrested. I will be there for them in the police stations. When some will be taken to hospitals, I will move around to check them. But they are very organized group that knows what they want to achieve.
Okay.
Member of Parliament for Embakasi East.
And I'm in support of what they are doing tomorrow. 101% supporting the Gen Zs.
Babu Owino, thank you for being here this morning. I mean, these conversations, sometimes we have a cliffhanger. They don't end. We keep talking about them, necessary for us to keep certain things front and center. So thank you for being here with us this morning, and we look forward to the next time we can speak with you.
Thank you so much, Ndu. Thank you so much, Deno. Thank you so much, Aseto. May God bless you all. May God bless this nation. We are at a blink of destruction, but we would rather destroy and build afresh rather than build but build wrongly.
Asante sana. Good morning at 8:02.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. As Kenya prepares to mark the first anniversary of the Gen Z-led Occupy Parliament protest tomorrow, the Standard newspaper has exposed a shadowy group behind a plan to have goons infiltrate the protest. Powerful State House operatives, influential Rift Valley MPs, a number of UDA Secretariat employees and some parastatal chiefs are at the helm of the secret operation. Their mission to position goons in key protest zones across Nairobi's CBD to unleash violence on demonstrators and malign protest leaders. They are also looking to target media houses seen as sympathetic to the Gen Z agenda with smear campaigns, intimidation and ridicule. Recently, TRT MP William Kamket openly joined the fray, outrightly declaring violence against the protesters.
Hawa vijana wachache wamekuja Nairobi na rungu ndio wameletea shida, mkuje wiki ijayo ndio mjue vijana hapo kwa wako hapo. Vijana mko? Wangapi wako tayari kudefend serikali? Twende Nairobi. Twende Nairobi. Tugombane na hao.
This comes a day after human rights activists called on the government to be accountable and address the demands of the people, rejecting government claims that they are funded by foreign organizations.
We did not create a job for serial killers whose activities we fund from our taxes.
Ukweli Part and Kongamano la Mapinduzi have a wide membership base. They work with other organizations and they work with the masses. We joined forces with other patriotic Kenyans to demand full and expeditious accountability accountability for the crimes committed by the Ruto administration in the context of the unlawful crackdown that has gone on since June last year.
63 Kenyans were brutally killed during last year's Gen Z-led protests, according to the Independent Medical Legal Unit. The organization has called for an independent and swift investigation into the killings, as well as 63 cases of kidnapping and torture of protesters. Still on tomorrow's protest, the Socio-Economic Development and Human Rights Alliance in Trans Nzoia County has called on protesters to remain peaceful and to embrace dialogue with the government to de-escalate the situation. From the organization, Samuel Kiboi.
Mipango ambayo imewekwa ya siku ya Jumatano isikuwe ni kuwa tunatafuta umaarufu ya kuona barabara zikichomwa, magari zikichomwa na watoto ya watu wakifa. Mimi nasema kabla ijafika tarehe 25, watu hawa wote, mabishop na mashekh wote waamuke na waweze kuita mkutano mfungamano house, ambaye imekuwa ni mahala tangu miaka zote huwa wanakaa kutoa sababu ya kuweza kuepusha ambaye tunayaona. Kwa maana demonstration is not an issue ile tunafanyia msaa, maana sio wote wanaoenda demonstration kutaka amani.
In other news, Nairobi Central Police Station OCS Samson Talama and 5 other suspects are expected to appear before Kibera High Court today over the murder of teacher and blogger Albert Ojwang. They appeared before the court yesterday but were not charged due to the absence of some lawyers. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions approved murder charges against Talam and officers James Mukhwana and Peter Kimani. Other suspects include John Gige, Brian Jue and Gin Obwao. Meanwhile, IPOA Chairman Isaac Hassan has apologized for addressing the press outside Nairobi Central Police Station alongside Inspector General Police Douglas Kanje following Ojwang's death.
There were people who were there from our investigation team. I went there to go and actually look at the cell. And I was so disturbed. And I didn't want to be with them in the police conference. The IG asked me to come and join him. I think it was a big mistake. I think which should not have happened. And I explained that to Parliament that we apologize for that. We should not have actually appeared with them.
IEBC Chairman-elect Erastus Ethekon has asked the High Court to dismiss a case challenging his appointment and 6 commissioners arguing that the National Assembly followed all legal procedures. His lawyer Issa Manur defended Ethekon's qualifications and dismissed claims that his past role as Turkana County Attorney General disqualifies him. Separately, lawyer Paul Mwite urged the court to jail President William Ruto, Attorney General Dorcas Oduor and Head of Public Service Felix Koskei for contempt, accusing them of defying a court order halting the publication of the IEBC appointees' names in the Government Gazette. The order in late May by Justice Lawrence Mugambi was issued after petitioners Kevin Omondi and Boniface Mwangi challenged the appointment process as opaque and unconstitutional. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
Traffic.
At a very busy Tuesday morning, let's take a quick look at what's happening on the streets right about now. And there's traffic really everywhere you look. Well into traffic hour. It's busy coming off of the Eastern Bypass and getting on towards that Embakasi Loop. Everybody's heading into the city centre this morning, and we're seeing quite a lot of traffic as you come in from Mombasa Road, hooked onto Huru Highway. Also coming out of Westlands and onto Huru Highway as well. There is some traffic still on the Thika Super Highway as you come in from Githurai through towards Kasarani and then out into Kiambu Road. There is traffic here as well. Lower Kabete into Spring Valley and then coming off of that part of Ngong Road. So it is a busy morning, like I said. Let's keep an eye on all of this. Tell us what's going on in your neck of the woods. Keep things moving. And we'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X. Hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4
Coming
Spice
into you at
FM,
12 minutes after 8
Nairobi.
o'clock. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. And we get into the third hour of conversation this morning, asking the question, are you passionate about creating a better future for Kenya? So is the I&M Foundation, the social investment arm of I&M Bank Kenya. So for the past 5 years, the I&M Foundation has been making a real difference, investing a significant 2% of the bank's annual profit, the highest commitment in the Kenyan banking sector, into impactful programs. So the work focuses on vital areas like education and skills development, economic empowerment, and enabling giving. But today we want to highlight their leadership in environmental conservation. The I&M Foundation is dedicated to protecting our precious natural heritage through strategic partnerships and community-driven initiatives, ensuring a sustainable future for all. They believe in impact, and are achieving it through focused action. As we renew our pact to keep impacting, learn more about the I&M Foundation's vital work and how you can potentially collaborate by visiting imbankgroup.com/foundation to learn more, powered by I&M Bank.
And are you trying to save some money, but you're finding it very hard to start? And what about when you need to buy something today? Well, I&M Bank has you covered. Achieve your dreams with the Fikisha Gold Savings Account, the easy digital way to save for what matters most. And for your immediate needs, use I&M's Buy Now, Pay Later. Purchase items from your favorite stores now and pay in affordable installments. Save for tomorrow while living comfortably today. Get started now. Open your individual or solo biz account today via the I&M Bank On The Go app.
And here we are at 8:15 o'clock, getting into a conversation, and we're asking into echoes of June 1 year on, and we're going to talk real stuff this hour about the impact of the things that happened as a result of last year's anti-finance bill protests. We'll be joined in the studio by 3 this hour at different intervals. Edith Wajiko Kamau is here already this morning. She's a mother of one of the victims who passed, unfortunately, as a result of the violence that took place on that day. We'll say hello to her in just a minute. Also, Hussein Khalid, who is the lead at Haki Africa, is going to join us here as well as a human rights advocate and activist, and who was there on the ground and continues to be there on the ground and will be on ground again tomorrow. We'll also be joined by Hesban Bahati, who is a survivor of those protests, was injured in that, and as of today is an amputee. So those are around the conversations that we'll be having this morning, and we're looking at a year on what happened after that day and what then can we actually learn and glean from that, even as we go out into the future. Edith, karibu sana.
Asante.
How are you?
Salama.
Karibu.
Asante.
Asante. We'll do a proverb with Khalid when he comes in later, in a few minutes. But Edith,
ndio,
vile uko hapa tulikuwa tunataka utuambie ni nini ilifanyika, ndio uko hapa leo tueleze mambo ya kijana yako.
Okay, mimi ni mzazi wa Ibrahim Kamau. Alikufa akiwa na miaka 19 on 25th June 2024. Okay, hiyo on Monday nilikuwa na Ibrahim jioni akikuja kula chakula ya usiku. Asubuhi akuja kunywa chai na si kawaida yake. Ibrahim alitoka kaenda na wenzake maandamano na akurudi. So jioni, sababu alikuwa anaendesha pikipiki, jioni ilipofika ikakuwa nti yake amempigia simu, anamtafuta, hapatikani kwa simu. Simu inaitana tu na ishikwi na mtu yoyote. So nikaenda nikatafuta rafiki yake wa karibu. Anti yake aliponipigia simu akaniambia napigia Ibrahim simu na ashiki. Nikaenda nikatafuta rafiki yake yule wa karibu sana, mwenye alikuwa karibu na yeye sana. Nikampigia nikamuuliza kwani Ibrahim ako wapi, sababu anapigiwa simu na ashiki. Akaniambia yeye ndiye akona simu ya Ibrahim na Ibrahim alienda naye maandamano lakini yeye hajarudi. Nikamuuliza vile mlienda maandamano kila mtu mwingine amerudi? Akaniambia kila mtu mwingine amerudi isipokuwa Ibrahim. So kwa hivyo Ibrahim nyinyi mlimwacha wapi? Akasema sisi tulipoteleana huko town na Ibrahim kitu saa 8 hivi mchana. So mimi nikamwambia ni sawa, nikakaa basi ningoje nione kama Ibrahim atapiga simu ya mtu mwingine ama maybe alijeruhiwa akapelekwa hospitali, anaweza piga simu. Ibrahim hakupiga simu. Asubuhi yake tukaamka na aunti yake, masista zangu, tukaenda kutafuta Ibrahim. Nilianzia Holy Family. Pale casualty walikuwa wanapeleka, nione kama nitapata list. Ile itanionyesha kama Ibrahim alipelekwa hapo. Nikafika hapo ikakuwa kuna list yote iko hapo. Nikaambiwa niende Kenyatta, nao security hapo Holy Family. Tukafululiza mpaka Kenyatta. Kufika Kenyatta tukaingia, tukaenda hapo care ya wale casualty wote walipelekwa hiyo siku ya 25th. Hapakuwa na mtu kama Ibrahim. Nikapelekwa mpaka kwa ward pale wamelazwa au casualty wa 25th hakukuwa. Nikaambiwa niende kwa ward sasa. Kulikuwa na unknown wenye walikuwa wamepelekwa kwa ward waine. Kuenda nikaangalia sikumpata. Tukarudi tena chini kwa reception. Akatuambia kama jina yake haipatikani hapa, sasa tunaweza kuelezea na ni ngumu tu, utabidi kwanza uende city na pia upite Mbagathi. Sisi hatukwenda city first, tulifululiza mpaka Mbagathi. Juu tulikuwa na hopes tutampata. Maybe labda amelazwa huko na ajijui. So kufika Mbagathi tukaambiwa casualty wote waliletwa Mbagathi, walikuwa na minor injuries na walienda nyumbani. So tukasema sasa hatuna option, labda sasa turudi city mortuary. Tukarudi city mortuary. Attendance mwenye nilipata city mortuary alikuwa ni mwanamke. Akakuja akatuuliza mnatakaje? Tukamwambia kuna kijana wetu alienda maandamano jana na hajarudi. Na tumeenda Kenyatta tumemkosa, tumeenda Mbagathi tumemkosa. So tumesema tupitie hapa tuangalie kama tutampata. Akatuuliza alikuwa amevaa nguo inakaaje? Alikuwa na jaketi ya pink, alikuwa amevaa track ya black. Akanambia sawa. Akarudi ndani akakuja akatufungulia mlango. Tufungulia mlango akatuambia ingieni. Already tukiingia alikuwa shamuona pali huko. Alikuwa amelazwa tu hapo karibu na mlango, alikuwa wa pili kutoka kwa mlango. Hapo ndo pali tulimpata Ibrahim hiyo siku ya 26.
That morning 25th as before even Ibrahim alitoka nyumbani. Did you have a conversation alipokuwa naenda for maandamano? Alikueleza nini kama mama?
Okay, hiyo siku hatukuwa na conversation na Ibrahim. Tulikuwa na usiku tu ndo tuliongea na Ibrahim. Na si hakuwashua kama wataenda, but walikuwa wamepanga wataenda na wenzake. Unaona? So unaona yeye anaendesha pikipiki. Asubuhi waliamka na wakaingia kazi wote. Vile wanakuanga. Unaona? Baada ya kufanya kazi ilipofika kitu saa 4 ndio walienda maandamano. Jote hiyo siku watu wengi mtaa walienda maandamano. Wengi sana. Mimi sikupata time ya kwenda sababu nilikuwa na mtoto mdogo na nilikuwa sina mtu wa kuachia. Hiyo siku mzazi wangu alikuwa ametoka. Ndio maana hata pia si hatukwenda. Ndio.
Ulijuaje utaanza kuangalia hospitali ama police station? Kitu likwambia kama kuna kitu mbaya ilikuwa imefantendeka?
Okay, hiyo siku mimi nilikuwa nafuatilia live hata kwa TV. Niliangalia niko na watu wengi sana wengi walishikwa, wengi waliumia, wengi walikufa. So sikuwa na ile ati nitampata hata city. Kwanza nilikuwa nimetoka nikisema naenda police station. Nilikuwa nianzie Kamkunji police station sababu ndiko karibu na walipenye mimi naishi. Okay. Mamangu akatuambia msiende kwanza police station. Police station ni mali kidogo hata anaweza kuwa mnaweza mpata ama anaweza tolewa. Juu tulikuwa tunaona hiyo on Thursday ya hiyo wiki ilikuwa imepita, ya ilikuwa 21st ama 22. Kuna wale walipelekwa police station na waliachiliwa wakarudi nyumbani kesho yake. Na wengine wakapelekwa kotini. So sisi tulikuwa ni imani tusipompata hospitali tutampata police station. Sababu hata wenzake hawasemi ukweli yako wapi na walikuwa tu pamoja ati tumepoteleana. Amwezi kwa mkuu watu zaidi ya 30 na mmepoteana tu na mtu mmoja ndiye amepoteana akapotea. So tukakuwa na question mark sana. So ndio tukaamua tuanze tu hospitali. Hapo ndio tulikuwa na imani tunaweza mpata. Unaona? Hatukutarajia tunaweza pata ati ameaga.
Na aliaga kivipi? Uliweza kujua?
Naam. Alipigwa, ilikuwa hata cross range. Walimpiga cross range na risasi ndio ilimuuma. Zilipigwa risasi 2.
Alipigwa risasi 2 zote zilikuwa kwenye shingo.
Juu postmortem venye ilifanywa walisema hiyo pistol, sijui ni pistol ndio walimpiga nayo. Nili inatoa 2 mara moja. So zilikuwa mali ziko karibu sana. zimefuatana.
Mwaka mmoja baadaye unahisi vipi?
Okay, mimi nahisi vibaya sana sababu hata hii ya juzi nilipoona ule kijana akipigwa hiyo cross range. Nilifeel hivyo ndio pia mimi mtoto wangu walimuua tu hivyo tu karibu hivyo sana na yeye. So mimi nilifeel hata nilianza ni kama ninagonjeka tu sababu nilisiani vibaya sana. Sana. Nikaona hiyo ndio kumbe kifo yenye mtoto wangu pia mimi alipitia.
So it is 1 year later. Vitu nyingi zimesemwa, a lot has happened, but one thing that hatujasikia ni any form of justice to the victims, to the parents. Mahali wewe unaketi, waisi serikali na kuzungumzia ama serikali imenyamaza? Does it care or doesn't it care?
Okay, kwa ukweli serikali hata haina shughuli. Mimi siwezi sema iko na shughuli, hawana hata shughuli. Yani kwao waliridhikia tu vile watoto walipasa, sababu since tuandikishe statement aipoa, hata aipoa waje tupigie watu waambie imefikia hapa ama imefikia wapi, hawajawahi sema chochote. Wanakwanga tu wamenyamaza.
Okay. Nikuulize, ilikuwaje? Ulienda kwa kwenye polisi, walisema uende kwa aipoa, ukaandika statement, alafu
baada ya kuandisha, mimi siku kweli mimi sikuenda police station.
Okay.
Juu ile siku nilikuwa niende police station ni hiyo siku yenye 26 venye tulimpata huko city. Ikakuwa mimi nafaa nizike the following day venye tu nilimpata. So ikakuwa na bado on the same Thursday kulikuwa na maandamano. So ikakuwa niende nikaandikisha statement Central Police Station. Mimi sikuenda Central Police Station. Aunti yake ndalienda police station kuandikisha statement. So ikakuwa mimi nitaenda aipoa. Na wakati nilipoenda aipoa tukaandikisha statement. Tulikuwa hata tulienda wazazi wengi sana. Wale wote hiyo time watu walikuwa wameuliwa. Na tukaandikisha statement na aipoa na wakatu promise watatuharakishia at least pia watu wetu wapate justice. Pia sisi kidogo roho zetu zitulie. Kutoka hiyo siku mpaka na leo aipoa hawasemi chochote.
Umewauliza?
Ule mwenye anafuatilia kesi ni wakili, na tukiuliza inasemekana tu tutulie. Hakuna kitu imetendeka.
I mean, just to give context, maybe to our listeners and viewers, so Ibrahim Kamau was actually among the first ones to be killed on the outskirts of Parliament when police opened fire with live ammunition on the crowds around Parliament building. So those images are still very fresh in our minds. Labda nikuulize, kuna mtoto mwingine?
Ndio.
Akikwambia nataka kwenda maandamano kesho, wewe kama mamake utakuwa na IGC vipi?
Okay, kwa kweli mimi niko ready sana, sababu walikuwa mara hivi ni kama mapacha. Juu huyo mmoja alikuwa 203 na mwenzake ni 204. Niliwaza tena nimewafatanisha sana. So ana feel vibaya. Yeye wanga anasikia vibaya sana. Akiona ndugu yake mwenye ameliwa na yeye hayuko. Hata saizi alisema tu maandamano ataenda. Unaona? Sababu kama ule mdogo wake sasa ule ndasema alikuwa amefuata Ibrahim, saizi ndio kwa na miaka 8. Na kila saa unasikia mtoto anakuuliza, kwani ndugu yangu alienda na atawairudi? Unaona? Inakuwa ni uchungu sana sababu akubali jumbaka, yani ilifika mahali mpaka huo mtoto masomo, yani anakaa mtoto kwa class lakini ni kama haelewi chochote kenye inaendelea. Unaona?
Okay. Let's hear from your husband. How are you?
Salama sana.
Karibu sana.
Nashukuru.
Obviously you as well suffered quite something from these protests that took place last year. What happened?
Asanteni sana kwa hii fursa. Kwa majina tena naitwa Bahati Hesbon, lakini kisanii naitwa Baba Taifa.
Baba Taifa.
Yes. Mimi natokea kule maeneo ya Mukuru. Na kama tu alivyosema, sisi tulikuwa tumejitokeza kwenda katika maandamano kuweza kupinga finance bill last year. Na kwa bahati nzuri pengine mimi sikuweza kupata majeruhi yote wakati tulikuwa kwenye protest, lakini sasa yangu ilikuja baadaye. Mnamo Oktoba 20, siku ya mashujaa. Tulipokuwa tunaenda sasa celebrate ama kuwakumbuka wale ambao tulikuwa tumewapoteza katika June protest. So mimi nikaenda Uhuru Park, kama mnaweza kumbuka Eric Omondi na wanaharakati wengine walikuwa wamepangia hii hafla ifanyike pale Uhuru Park. Na kila kitu ilikuwa tayari. Tulikuwa tumepewa mpaka permit na vitu zote. Lakini kufikia asubuhi around saa 4 asubuhi tukafungiwa gate. Tukaambiwa we cannot access Uhuru Park. So kwenye hiyo harakati ndio wakasema president haizi kuwa na sherehe ambayo ni siku ya Mashujaa Day, na pia vijana wako na sherehe yao tofauti. Lakini hii haikuwa tu sherehe ya kawaida. In as much as ilikuwa imepangiliwa pia na wasanii, lakini haikuwa tu ni sherehe. Hii ilikuwa ni kumbukumbu na kurespect wale vijana ambao tulikuwa tumepoteza. Sasa kwa hiyo harakati ndio wakafunga gate, alafu wakaanza kutupa vitoa machozi. Wakaanza kushika watu, na hivyo ndio tukaanza kutoweka. Kwa hivyo mimi nikikimbia nikielekea Kencom, kuna gari la polisi ambalo lilitufuata kutoka nyuma around Parliament Road hapo Intercontinental. So ikapita mbele mpaka kwa ofisi ya Gavana Sakaja pale City Hall. Ikageuka. Sasa ilipokuwa inageuka, hapo ndio nilishutiwa mguu wangu wa kulia. Alafu kila mtu akapotea, gari ikapita ikaenda, nikabaki kwenye scene peke yangu.
Chini.
Ndio.
Let me ask an uncomfortable question.
Okay.
Is that why you're using the crutches?
Yes.
Nini nilifanyika after that?
Nilishutiwa mguu wangu wa kulia hapa chini ya magoti. Na ikavunja tibia. So nikawa niko na tibia fracture na trauma na compartment syndrome. Alafu hii siku tulikuwa tumeenda na rafiki yangu ambaye anaitwa Duklan kwenye hii hafla. Lakini walipotupa vitoa machozi, kila mtu alikimbia na direction tofauti. Kwa hivyo nilipopigwa risasi, nilimpigia simu nikamwambia niko hapa karibu na KICC na nimeshutiwa. Kuja unisaidie. Lakini kabla afike, kuna jamaa mmoja alitokea nyuma, sijui alitoka wapi, ambaye alijaribu kama kufanya kunisaidia. Kuweza kujaribu kuangalia mguu umeumia kiasi gani, alafu alikuwa anajaribu kufanya first aid hivi. So katika hiyo harakati nafikiri pia alizidisha, so ika interfere pia na mfupa kwa namna moja au nyingine. Kwa hivyo huyo rafiki yangu akakuja, alafu tukachukua pikipiki tukaelekea mpaka Kenyatta.
Hesbon, I will also ask you an uncomfortable question because you had seen protests mbeleni.
Yes.
Na kuna wenzako pia kama vile Edith, mama Ibrahim ameelezea, kuna wale walipigwa marisasi. Wakati huo ulipopigwa risasi mguu wako wa kulia. Did you think or did you fear that you were going to die?
Well, I was a bit prepared for anything that could have come. Immediately after I noticed sina mguu. Because nafikiria uoga ilinitoka pindi niliposhindwa kutembea. Kwa sababu hiyo wakati nimepigwa risasi na niko peke yangu, na nyuma kuna mapolisi. In fact, kabla hata nipeleke hospitali kuna polisi ambaye alinigonga hapo kwenye hapo kwa hiyo mguu.
Ai?
Ndio.
Ngoja kidogo. Ulishapigwa, ulikuwa chini.
Ndio.
Alafu
huyu jamaa fulani alikuja kujaribu kunisaidia. Katika hiyo harakati akijaribu kunisaidia, kuna polisi ambaye alikuwa na fimbo hizi rungu fulani. Akanigonga. Hapo mwale nimeumia.
Same spot.
Ndio. Okay. Sasa huyu jamaa akamwambia ofisa umuonee huruma, huyu ameumia. Akasema, akanipiga akisema tokeni hapa, nikirudi nisiwapate hapa. Kwa hivyo hiyo ndio ilifanya nikapiga simu kwa haraka. Lakini hata hivyo nilikuwa kwenye giza. Kwa hivyo sielewi ni nini inaendelea. Sijaona mguu kabisa kwa sababu niko na trouser, lakini nasikia mguu wangu hauna nguvu kabisa. So siwezi nikaubeba, siwezi nikatembea, so nilikuwa na kama kuruka alafu na crawl hivi. So kifo kama ingekuja basi ingenipata hapo. Na nilipofika Kenyatta ndio basi nilitulia sasa. Nikarudi kwenye my normal senses after nimedungwa shindano ya uchungu.
Umejaribu kufuatilia kesi yako?
Ndio. Tuko kwenye harakati ya kuseek justice na tayari IPOA kwenye harakati za kufuatilia hii kesi.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Dennis, but in any case where someone is shot, when they're taken to hospital, it is usually a police case because statements have to be taken to just understand the circumstances upon which one was shot. Did you experience that while in hospital?
Yes. IPOA alinitafuta hospitalini. So when
walikuja?
Ndio.
Okay.
Kwa sababu story yangu ilikuwa kwenye mtandao.
Okay.
Alafu fortunately enough mimi peke yangu ndo nilikuwa nimejeruhiwa hiyo siku ya mashujaa. Kwa hivyo it was all over the news and kila mtu alikuwa anajua ni mimi niko pale hospitalini. Kwa hivyo IPOA alikuja nafikiri after kama 1 week hivi. Wakakuja pale, walinitafuta siku ya kwanza, wakanikosa maana nilikuwa nimepelekwa surgery. Na ilikuwa surgery yangu ya 3 sasa. Kwa hivyo walipokuja wakaambiwa siko, wakaenda alafu wakakuja kesho yake. Sasa kesho yake ndio wakajiintroduce, wakakuja na security personnel wa pale Kenyatta. Alafu wakaniomba kuandikisha statement.
When you were shot, the bullet exited or was it lodged in your knee?
So ili gaze,
okay.
So kwa sababu mimi nilikuwa nakimbia, mguu wangu ulikuwa juu kwa hewa. So ilipita na kando hivi.
My last question to you, sir. Kesho maandamano.
Ndio.
Already kuna statements katika taarifa zetu gazeti la Standard. Kati ya moja ya zile jumbe kwenye mtandao, marehemu watarajiwa wa Wednesday is Wednesday na occupy State House and other protected areas, laleni salama, hiyo haraka ya kwenda Sayuni sijui meitwa wapi and da. Wakati unaona this kind of sentiments na kesho ni hiyo anniversary, kwanza ukipata nafasi utaenda tena? La pili, when you hear this kind of statements, how does it make you feel?
Ni mambo yanavunja moyo sana. Kwa sababu sisi tuko hapa kupigania haki. Unaona? Sisi tuko hapa ku fight for accountability. And ukiona mtu ameweka hashtag kama amesema ati
marehemu watarajiwa wa Wednesday.
Hiyo ni we are not in a war zone. Unaona? Hii ni Kenya, hii ni nchi yetu na kwa njia moja au nyingine tunahitaji kupigania nchi yetu.
Indeed.
Na kama tunapigania nchi yetu, hatufai kuwa tunapigana wenyewe kwa wenyewe. Kwa sababu ukiangalia matamshi kama hayo ni matamshi ambayo yanachochewa na watu fulani ambao wanapenda vita, violence na vitu kama hiyo. So sisi kwanza hatuko na vita na mtu yoyote, hatujakuja vita. Hata katiba in itself inasema article 37 inatupatia uhuru wa kuandamana peacefully. Sindio? Na sisi tangia mwanzo tumekuwa very peaceful. Tumekuwa tuna maji, bendera, firimbi na masimu zetu peke yake. Hatujawahi kubeba silaha. Kwa hivyo sisi hatuko tayari kupigana. Ujumbe wetu wa kesho ni kwamba sisi tuko tayari kujitokeza kwa wingi, kucelebrate the people that we've lost. Taarifa yetu moja ni kwa rais wa Kenya kwamba sisi we're just seeking justice. We need accountability. The police that shot people are supposed to be held accountable. The killer cops wanafaa kuwa arrested, wakuwa arraigned to court, na serikali iweze kukubali kwamba ilifanya makosa kuumiza wananchi wake na kupoteza maisha.
Indeed.
Tuko in solidarity na kina mama ambao kesho watakuwa wanajitokeza kukumbuka watoto wao. Sisi tuko na taarifa moja tu, tutabeba maua tuweze kwenda town, tupitie kwa ofisi ya president tupeane petition, na tupitie parliament tupeane petition. Sisi hatuko tayari kupigana na mtu, sisi tuna celebrate vijana wetu.
Mama Ibrahim, just before we go to the break, ungependa nini ifanyike kuanzia kesho ukikumbuka Ibrahim?
Okay, kesho mimi ningeomba sana president wetu wa Kenya venye tu ya Ongondowere, venye haki imetendeka haraka au kumaliza hata wiki 2 na at least tuko na watu wamepelekwa kotini. Sisi tunaomba, saizi imepita ni mwaka moja, hatujaona mtu yote amepelekwa kotini. Na juzi nafikiri president alisema kila mtu abebe msalaba wake. Mimi ningeomba tu au polisi wenye walipiga vijana siku ya maandamano waliwashoot, sababu wanajulikana na wako tu wako kazi, na pia kwa hii maandamano lazima tu watajitokeza wakuje. Mimi ningeomba pia hao wabebe msalaba yao waende kotini, at least tuone kama roho zetu pia zitatulia.
Indeed. Let's take a break at this point and we continue after this break. And one thing that we continue to say is that we will have these conversations for the people.
Kama roho zetu pia zitatulia.
Indeed. Let's take a break at this point and we continue after this break. And one thing that we continue to say is that we will have these conversations for the people. Let's take a break at this point and we continue after this break. And one thing that we continue to say is that we will have these conversations for the people. Our conversations continue at 20 minutes to 9 o'clock, and it's important that we take a minute where we talk about these things. And we're coming into a year after the anti-finance bill protest. I mean, a really grounding moment for us to think about some of these things. And joining us now in the room is Hussein Khalid, who is the lead at Haki Africa, and just been everywhere, Khalid, just really trying to foster and protect the rights of Kenyans. And here we are full circle again. Yep. It's the 24th of June, Karibu Sana, and getting into the 25th tomorrow. And it's interesting because, we hear this a very strong face from Mama Ibrahim, but you can see, and it was interesting because she said that above all of this, we just really want peace. We want them to be able to see a place where justice reigns. Aside from the pain that she feels of losing her son, her child, that Kenya still takes front and center. Husband losing a part of you, literally. But you still say that we want to come out tomorrow and fight for a thing by walking peacefully and by saying that we insist on governance that is done properly, we insist on accountability, we insist on justice, we insist on mercy, we insist on comfort, these things that we insist on. So, Khalid, a year later, are we in a better place?
Unfortunately, no. In terms of the atrocities that are being committed in the country, I would say we are not at a better place. If anything, we are worse off. IPOA's report yesterday indicated that since Albert Ojwang's death at Central Police Station to date, actually to yesterday, they've had over 20 more deaths in the hands of police. And this is IPOA statement by the chairperson of IPOA, Ahmed Isaac. So clearly, we're not at a better place. If anything, I think the situation is deteriorating further. But we're at a better place when it comes to citizens and demand for accountability. I think last year was historic. After last year, the Gen Z protests and what transpired in the country, I believe we will never, ever go back to those dark days, because the people are now aware, the people are alert, and they're saying no more. What we need now is to have a justice system that responds to the people's demands. I think what is letting us down now are institutions, beginning with the police service, that is completely out of order. I think over the years, we've had many reforms in the country, from prison to judiciary with Willy Mutunga and others. But one institution that has completely refused to reform is the police service. And this is because every government that comes into power, they want to control this institution. They want it to be an institution for a tool for use and misuse, let me say misuse, by the executive. And this is the reason why we find ourselves in the place we are in today.
Khalid, even as we sit here today, tomorrow it's the commemoration of 1 year since June 25th. But look at what was being pushed by the Gen Zs who came out: better governance, proper use of resources. We want justice and all that.
Yes.
But we are speaking at a time when those who would be going out to protest tayari wameshaitwa marehemu watarajiwa.
Exactly.
We are also experiencing situations where members of parliament in this country who have been donated power by the people are the ones who are threatening to send in goons to deal with would-be protesters. And as we sit here today, one asks, when will we just catch a break?
Yeah. Very true. 100% in agreement. And as I said, I think the key ingredient to move this country forward, and that is citizens' alertness, is there already. We want to thank the Standard Media Group, of course, for that expose. A brilliant story that has exposed the, I would say, the machinations behind some of these leaders who want to disrupt Kenya's constitutional guarantees. And as I said, it's the institutions that are failing. We have NCIC, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. This is the body that is supposed to be dealing with such crooks, particularly leaders, members of parliament who stand on the podium and threaten Kenyans who want to exercise their constitutional rights that, wataona cha mtema kuni. This is unacceptable. Had it been you or me, Hezbon or any common citizen, by now you'd have been summoned a long time ago. If anything, Subarus would have been sent and you'd have been picked, to answer. But we have institutions that are being misused by the executive. And this is where now we want to concentrate on. For us, we start with the police. And as we said, we are draining the swamp. Kila mtu mwenye anashindwa kufanya kazi yake, those individuals who are in those offices being paid by our money, taxpayers' money, and they're failing to do their work, the time has come. And this is why we're telling Kenyans, you must continue to push for accountability. When we say Ruto must go, it's not an individual. It's actually a system that has been designed to fail Kenyans and to only work for a few individuals. So it's everyone, from the MCAs who are not performing. The other day, the MCA for, I think, Kileleshwa, Robert Alai, was threatening Kenyans also, telling them that, go there at your own peril, to members of parliament, like, the likes of, is it someone, yeah, I don't even know his name, Kamket, to cabinet secretaries who are failing to perform, Murkomen and others. How do you sit in office as the cabinet secretary for interior? The police are working under you in in 2 weeks. Yeah, according to IPOA, in 2 weeks, over 20 Kenyans have lost their lives in the hands of police officers. And this is not me saying it. It's government's own IPOA and you are comfortably seated in office as the cabinet secretary for interior. What a shame.
Hussein, despite the push, like you're saying, continued push, despite the outrage, the anger and the protests that you've been part of, what do you think is the cause of this deterioration?
For me, and from where I sit, it's impunity. It's impunity, because today you are told this individual was involved, it adversely mentioned, the Deputy Inspector General in the murder of Albert Ojwang, and then you charge 6 people, junior officers, and you leave that person out, So people now know that as long as I am okay with a certain individual in this country, whether it's the presidency or the people who are close to the president, the rest does not matter. The constitution, we can, disregard it, we can disregard the laws because I'll be protected. Right. So impunity is the biggest problem, Okari, that we are seeing today, particularly with the security sector. They, abuse the laws. The abductions are still happening. I'm told yesterday the DCI at 3 a.m. they went and arrested the speaker of the Isiolo county because they are pushing for the ouster of the governor. How do you do that? That's abuse of office. You arrest an individual at 3 a.m. to go and record a statement at 3 a.m. So it's happening in a manner that, shouldn't be. And we must be firm in our resolve to end this menace in the country.
Knowing full well, Husband, for example, you said that, tomorrow it's going to be place a petition before the office of the president, walk peacefully, memorialize those who lost their lives, stand in comfort with the families of those who still have to remember. But one thing that we've seen is that there's no fear. There is no fear of any kind of threat, even with the exposés that we see coming out, even the things that we see on social media. People are not afraid to come out into the streets and still demand for certain things. Is that the case?
Yes. When we lose our fear, what happens?
Lose their power.
They lose their power. So it's the power of consistency. In as much as they might have taken away some lives, we are not bowing down. So we're still going. Because again, as I said, we are not fighting with anyone. We're not fighting with the government. We are fighting with the bad governance. We are seeking accountability and justice. So ile wakati tutaogopa, then inamaanisha tutaendelea kunyanyaswa. Unaona? Even our forefathers, the likes of Dedan Kimathi, hawakuogopa. Walienda mpaka mahali walifika. The luxury, the freedom that we enjoy today was fought by our forefathers without fear. So in as much as tunaweza kuwa intimidated, in as much as tunaweza tukatishiwa, tukathreateniwa, we are unbowed.
As we talk about even going out there, one would hope that they would be listened to. And I just want to ask one question to both of you, Husband. Do you feel like the government has let you and Kenyans down?
It has. As I've mentioned, we are not in war with the government. Because if you're seeking for accountability, it is our right. We are seeking for justice, it is our right. So the government is failing us by, when you're asking for justice, they are silent. Or, wanaongea vile wanataka. They're just flaunting money, wanna show off whatever they have, in their bodies and stuff. Wanavaa masaa za pesa mingi, wanavaa viatu za pesa mingi na vitu kama hizo. Yet sisi tunalia. Kuna watoto hawaendi shule. Kuna watoto hawakuli 3 meals a day. Unaona? So hizo ndio vitu zenye sisi tunaongelea. Speak about affordable housing, for example. Sisi before election tulibomolewa huko Mukuru kwa Njenga. And tumekuwa tukijaribu kuangalia hawa watu walibomolewa wana survive aje sahi. kwa sababu nyumba zetu zenye si affordable in itself. Unaona, kuna vitu mingi zenye hazijazingatiwa hata kwa hiyo affordable housing. Nyumba iko 9th floor, 10th floor. For example, sasa mimi ni mlemavu, napandaje huko juu? Unaona? So hizo ndio vitu zenye tunajaribu kuaddress. We are just trying to voice out our issues so that the government can do something about it. But in return, they want to silence us using bullets. Yeah, so the government has failed us. Hata ukiangalia after the demonstrations, the president himself alituita nini? Criminals.
Treasonous.
So akasema sisi eti tunafaa kuwa treason. So the government in itself has failed us so much that we're not even proud of it. So that's why we just need change.
My question to you, Ndugu, where is the soul of this country? 1 year later, we're having this conversation. We're still speaking of more deaths and more deaths. I've seen you time and time again out on the streets. When I heard of you sharing your experience, that was on Tuesday. You are roughed up. You are trying to run for your life. You keep going back to the streets. 1 year later, where is the soul of this country?
I mean, that's a very, very good question. And I'm not sure I have the response to it. Where is the soul of this country? If you ask me right now, I would say it's in the hands of the Gen Zs. Because these are the young Kenyans who've decided, that no more, that we will make a difference. During our days, Okari, we would protest. We would go to parliament and would say, occupy parliament, MPs and stuff like that. And you're marching in the streets. And Kenyans are lined up on the pavements. The best they'll do is say, fight for us, continue. And the lane, Ivo. I'm like, this is for us. I mean, it's not for me. It's for the country. Why are you not joining in? But this generation that we have today, I mean, for me, I'm so proud of them because it's the journalists in them, it's the lawyers in them, it's the engineers in them, it's the Juakali artisan, all of them. They're saying, apana, isia activists, isia wakili peke yake, this is for us all. And we all, I mean, if you look at the list of the young men who've been killed, the over 60, you have every profession in there. During our days, people who are killed from protests and all would just be like 99% activists. But now, you have everyone. And so for me, I want to place the soul of this country in their hands because they've decided we want a different nation.
And they don't fear.
And they don't fear.
Ibrahim says he will still go tomorrow despite being shot. Hezbon, sorry.
Yes.
And then Mama Ibrahim says her other son will go out again to the streets tomorrow. They don't fear death.
Because they know why they are in the streets. It's not about money. It's not about positions. It's not about, they're leaderless. They're tribeless. They're partyless. And for them, as he says, they're not fighting any individuals. They're fighting bad governance. Unajua hii sisi tulikuwa tukiambiwa tukiwa watoto. Mwalimu anakuchapa anasema si wewe nakuchapa, nachapa ile ujinga iko ndani yako. You remember those days. So this is what the youth are telling us, and the least we can do is to be there to support them. And for me, as a person who's been there for 10, 15 years doing this work, passing on the baton to such a courageous and brave generation, for me, I'm like, excellent. Let's move on.
Give us a view of the protests. I'm sure you'll be there tomorrow.
Oh, definitely.
You were there on Tuesday. What has changed from the protest that we had last year, and how has what have you observed and what have you seen as the changes when people are now going out to the streets?
So, Okari, I'll tell you, even the changes not even from last year, from last Tuesday, because we were in the streets just last week. This time round, surprise, surprise, almost all the towns that have presented notifications to the police have received them. The police have called the organizers to come and sit down and, quote unquote, draw up a plan to ensure there is safety. That I haven't seen in a couple of years for a protest. In Nairobi, of course, we're being led by families, Mama Ibrahim and others. They're the ones who are leading the protest to commemorate their kids. They did the letter, the police called them, they sat down with
almost all the top officers from the OCPD to the county commander, and they wanted to know, what are your plans so that we can ensure it is peaceful? So that's a change. I don't know if it's a strategy they want to. We've seen it, but many years back.
Okay.
In the last few years, we haven't seen that. Particularly for the Gen Z protest, it's ever no protest, no protest. So this time round, they've said that. So I don't know what is happening. It could be that they are genuine.
There's something going on.
Of course, I mean, you can't trust the police, but you hope that maybe
they're changing.
Could be. I'm saying I don't know. It could be, but that's one change we've noted in Nairobi, in Mombasa, in Nakuru. People have sat down with the police, and the police have assured them that they will be there to provide security.
Sorry, go ahead. Number 2, go ahead. Sorry.
Number 2, June 25th is not led by activists. June 25th is not led by any other person, but families of the comrades who are killed, families of comrades who are injured, and themselves, families of comrades who are still missing to date because there are still so many. So these celebrations, if we're calling them celebrations, it's to commemorate those who are dead and to petition the office of the president and the parliament. So we are hoping that Kenyans will join the families, because we are here to remember their sufferings and what they've been through over the last 1 year. And third, but also very, very important, we want to continue to push for reforms in this country. Okari, these institutions that are not delivering, these individuals who are failing in their jobs, we have to push for reforms. It can't be business as usual every day. So those are the 3 main takeaways for me.
Okay. As we come to the last, part of this with you, Hesbon, what is your hope? And this representative hope. What is hope for what will happen tomorrow? You know why I ask this question? Because there are underlying tones here that hundreds of thousands of people are just willing for chaos, that are willing for a situation whereby it will end up in violence, it will end up in death, and so that we can have something to talk about for another 3 months. And people are saying that you're throwing yourself into the cauldron, this burning cauldron. Why would you do that? What's the hope beyond anything else in this?
So our hope, our voice matters. Let us not be silent. Tusinyamaze tukiona maovu ya kitawala. Let us speak out. Let us come out and seek for justice. Mimi ningependa serikali ijitokeze, apologize publicly kwa the families wenye walipoteza watoto wao, kwa vijana ambao walipigwa risasi, because kuna vijana wengi sahi ambao wengi wamekatwa miguu, wamekatwa mikono, wengine wako na mental illness because of this situation. Kuna wengine hata hawezi ongea sahi, unaona, but the government is quiet about it. So ningependa serikali jitokeze publicly iongee kuhusu haya mambo na waweze ku replicate watu. So mimi niko very hopeful kwamba tutakomboa hii nchi kwa udi na uvumba. Hatutanyamazishwa, na vile ndugu yangu Khalid amesema, the baton iko kwa the Gen Z. And kila generation iko na vita inafaa kupigana. Na vita ya Gen Z ni ku make sure tuko na good governance, tuko na decent income, vijana wako employed, tuko na nyumba nzuri, watu wanaishi maisha mazuri, watoto wanasoma, na pia tuko na electoral justice. Because again, for the longest tumeona kumekuwa na mambo mingi sana when it comes to election. Kuna hata watu walikufa wakati wa maandamano za hizo wakati wa elections, but hatujaiongelea. So the historical injustices, we are fighting for them, and also the current. So mimi niko very hopeful kwamba hii Kenya itabadilika and we're going to live in a better country. So I'm here for the lives that we lost, and I'm also here for the people who were shot and they tried to silence them.
Hussein Khalid, lead at Haki Africa, and Hesbon Bahati, hopeful Kenya and looking for hopeful Kenyan and looking forward to better days ahead. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Asante sana.
Thank you.
At 9:01.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. Apologies, I have to start again. Embakasi East MP Babu Owino has blamed 204 of his colleagues who voted to approve President William Ruto's contested Finance Bill to 2024 in second reading for the protests that followed the vote. It comes as the country prepares to mark the first anniversary tomorrow in honor of Kenyans who were killed during the protests. Speaking when he appeared on the ongoing Situation Room show here on SpiceFM, Owino said the legislators failed to listen to the people, leading to countrywide protests that culminated into the takeover of Parliament by protesters. He urged MPs to embrace servant leadership.
The mood in Parliament was inversely proportional to the mood in the streets. People in the streets were fighting for a just cause. Majority of the people in Parliament were singing voices of their bosses. And the bosses from the executive were like, pass the finance bill. We want to sign it into an act. We want to punish Kenyans. Leaders are living in a bubble in this country. We should not forget that these positions are temporary positions. Before Babu was a member of Parliament, there was a member of Parliament in that constituency.
Babu, who recently became an advocate of the High Court, having been admitted to the bar, further said he'll be offering legal representation to protesters who may be arrested tomorrow.
I don't want to take advantage of the Gen Z's protests. And they said clearly we don't want politicians to take advantage of our protests. I'm an advocate of the High Court. I know that some may be arrested. I will be there for them in the police stations. When some will be taken to hospitals, I will move around to check them.
Still on tomorrow's protest, the Socio-Economic Development and Human Rights Alliance in Trans Nzoia County has called on protesters to remain peaceful and to embrace dialogue with the government to de-escalate the situation. Samuel Kiboi works with the organization.
Mipango ambayo imewekwa ya siku ya Jumatano isikuwe ni kuwa tunatafuta umaarufu ya kuona barabara zikichomwa, magari zikichomwa na watoto ya watu wakifa. Mimi nasema kabla ijafika tarehe 25, watu hawa wote, mabishop na mashekh wote waamuke na waweze kuita mkutano mfangamano house, ambaye imekuwa ni mahala tangu miaka zote huwa wanakaa kutoa sababu ya kuweza kuepusha ambaye tunayaona. Kwa maana demonstration is not an issue ile tunafanyia msaa, maana sio wote wanaoenda demonstration kutaka amani.
Sexual violence cases against girls are on the rise in the coast region, especially in Kilifi County, according to the International Justice Mission, or IJM. IJM County Director for the Kenya office, Vincent Chahale, says they've initiated projects to tackle the problem.
Ukiangalia katika hizo statistics unaona ya kwamba sana sana maneno ya defilement yako kabisa katika eneo la pwani, na ndio sababu katika program zetu mbili tulileta ile program ya defilement pwani, kwa sababu kulingana na zile data ambayo tulikuwa tumepata ilionyesha kwamba kuna kesi nyingi sana za defilement, kuna kesi nyingi sana za incest, na kuna kesi nyingi sana ambazo wanawake wanabakwa katika eneo la pwani, na particularly Kilifi.
Jahale has also called on the judiciary to hear and determine cases of sexual violence within 6 months so that victims can find justice.
Inafaa kesi kama hizi zipelekwe kwa upesi, kwa haraka, ili wale washukiwa wanapata adhabu yao, na wengine ambao wanania kama hiyo wanashtushwa. Lakini kesi zikiendelea na inakaa kwa muda mrefu, miaka, sana sana kesi za kubakwa, hata ile udhabiti huwa inapotea, ile evidence huwa inapotea, kwa sababu ni evidence inafaa kuwa preserved.
Iran has launched missiles at a US military base in Qatar in what it said was retaliation for American strikes against its nuclear sites over the weekend. Witnesses reported hearing loud bangs in the sky above the capital Doha, while videos showed bright flashes in the sky as air defense systems attempted to intercept missiles. It's the latest escalation in a conflict involving Iran, Israel and the US, which has seen tensions in the Middle East sour to unprecedented levels in recent days. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state of, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can't run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Traffic.
All right, well into traffic hour this morning, and we are seeing quite a number of things happening wherever you look. It's quite busy. Coming in off the Thika Superhighway, that has reduced down just to Survey. And the traffic that was on Limuru Road is now down to a dull roar. We're seeing a little bit of traffic then left coming in on Lower Kabete going towards Spring Valley, and as well as on Wayaki Way heading into the city. Ngong Road is still a bit busy here and there. And we're seeing some busyness still happening on Jogo Road heading out towards Landis. It is busy on the Eastern Bypass, but just whittle down to right around North Airport Road and touching a little bit on Outer Ring. So it still continues, and we're here for it. Let us know what is happening where you are. If it does go out of whack, do let us know. We'll talk and keep things moving. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
94 to 9 o'clock, and this is the final hour of the Situation Room. It is Kenya's biggest conversation, and we continue on that today. It is a moment that a lot of anticipation and a lot of questions and a lot of hope is being spread around, and we're going to continue with that conversation this hour. But before I ask you a question, are you passionate about creating a better Kenya, a better future for Kenya? Well, so is the I&M Foundation, the social investment arm of I&M Bank Kenya. For the past 5 years, the I&M Foundation has been putting aside 2% of the bank's annual profit, and it's the biggest commitment in the Kenyan banking sector into impactful programs. So the work focuses on vital areas, but more importantly, their leadership in environmental conservation is what we want to highlight today. The I&M Foundation is dedicated to protecting our precious natural heritage through strategic partnerships and community-driven initiatives, ensuring a sustainable future for all. They believe in impact, and are achieving it through focused action. As we renew our pact to keep impacting, learn more about I&M Foundation's vital work and how you can potentially collaborate by visiting imbankgroup.com/foundation to learn more. Powered by I&M Bank.
And in this tough economic time, sometimes you feel like no one is listening. Well, I&M Bank is listening. When you voiced your concerns over bank to M-Pesa charges, they heard you and they waived them. When you struggle with short-term loans, they heard you and introduced a flexible 90-day option right on your phone. They are listening and they are responding, because your financial well-being is their priority. Experience a bank that's on your side. Open your individual or solo biz account today via the I&M Bank on-the-go application.
Fantastic. All right. Echoes of 25th of June 2024, 1 year on, is a conversation that we continue into this hour. And we're joined by two individuals that you've seen before, you've heard before. And something within them rings very true, and we're going to continue with that song this hour. Joshua Okoh is the leader and revolutionary Gen Z of the Revolutionary Gen Z movement, and he's here with us in the studio, as well as Shakira Wafula, who is an active citizen. Both good morning and welcome to the Situation Room.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Karibu sana. We're so glad that you're here. We've seen both of you in different capacity. Of course, that famous picture of you, Shakira, when you're essentially looking into the face of what many would say fear, and you were unbowed and said, no, this is my right. This is a country that we'll fight for. So that's famous as well. We saw you, Joshua, having been taken for many days, not quite sure what was going to happen to you, and came out again unabowed and said, you know what, we're going to continue, and there's something that we will fight for. Those stories we talk about today, but we talk about that against the backdrop of what will happen in the country moving forward. We'll do that in just a bit, but we want to welcome you to the Situation Room with a proverb. Dennis will tell you what country we're in this week. We would like to hear your interpretation of the proverb that he shares.
Yeah, the country we're in this week is Ethiopia. Ethiopia, a country that has never been colonized before. It is also a country that is considered to be the birthplace of coffee, not just coffee, but also humanity, due to Lucy, who's about 3.2 million years old. And as we talk about that, our proverb today is when the drumbeat changes, the dance must also change. When the drumbeat changes, the dance must also change. Shakira, ladies first. How would you interpret that?
In the context of Kenya?
In the context of Shakira.
I mean, from a basic, like almost direct translation, if you're on the dance floor and the beats change, if you still keep moving the beats of the previous song, you look like a crazy person on the dance floor. And to put that in the context of Kenya, I feel like that is what we're experiencing right now with the political class. I feel they are struggling to accept that the sample of Kenyans that they are currently dealing with is not the same they've dealt with before. And now they are fighting for the status quo to remain the same. And we are adamant that, no, it is time for change, and we need change as soon as now.
All right.
Yeah, I think it speaks to being able to change with times. Yeah, so that then, the constant thing is change. Change is constant. And when things change, when circumstances change, it's better to find better ways to deal with the circumstances as they are in the moment, rather than sticking to old ways of doing things or being a bit rigid to not accept that things have changed and you have to find better ways of doing things. In our circumstance now, we are at a very different point where the young people have decided that things must change and we are not going to continue living as we are used to for the past, say, 10, 20 years, and that we have to see a bigger picture. We have to find another direction as a country. Yes.
And so we get into, it's great to hear this. It's interesting how you can take a proverb and you can apply it personally, but you can also apply it to the things that we see happening with us. In our job to share information in a transparent, accountable way, we are very few times short of fodder to share. In the last few weeks, things have happened in such rapid succession that makes us then have to really fight to keep up, but to share that information in truth and fact, because those two are not mutually exclusive, as well as to also put it out in a way that people will take that information. And I'm sure you're wondering, where is she going with this? Last year, the Mandamano happened, the protests happened, and that was a one-day event. But the call seems to be a 365-day event. And we share the information as we see it. And every day, literally, there's something that would happen that would point to the 365-day call from these protests. I want to hear from both of you here. Where are we now in relation to what happened a year ago, and 365 days later, when we are saying again people will come out in protest in memory of the people that we lost? We'll start with you, Joshua.
All right. I think we've gone back to the same situation we were last year, where we feel unheard, we feel unresponded to, and we feel that duty bearers are not concerned with the voices of the common person. and especially the young people. And because last year, as we were going to the street, and it was not one day, there were 3 good days, 18th, 20th, and 25th. And immediately after that, we saw a bit of reactionary actions by the president and the whole executive. And there are certain orders that were made, one of which was to sack all the cabinet secretaries and start afresh. Unfortunately, not so long after, more than half of those that had been appointed, that had been sacked, were returned to those positions, and some were appointed in other positions, including economic advisors and so on and so forth. And that means all those people, some of whom we complained about, were back to the system. At the same time, we were asking for accountability insofar as our money is concerned, because we were wondering that we have quite a number of we have debts, but at the same time we are being taxed, and there are so many other taxes that are being proposed in the Finance Bill 2024 then. And we were asking, where is all this money going to? Because the kind of development, if at all it's there, that we see is not commensurate to the amount of money that the people of Kenya contribute, plus the others that are taken in the name of debts. That has not changed 1 year down the line. And actually, there are still some more proposals to add tax. At the same time, we were talking about just good governance and good manners in public service, including we were fighting against public officers coming to the screens and showing us the value of what they own. At the same time, we were fighting for better education. We had this new funding model that the students were not welcoming at the time. It was implemented even before public participation, which is one of the greatest principles under the Constitution of Kenya 2010. So we felt that things were being done by declaration, roadside declarations from the executive office, not really in line or in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution and other laws. And that is why we went to the streets. 1 year down the line, we still see the same things happen. We have not seen anyone act on a better funding model for universities. We have not seen, SHA is not comprehensive because they are not covering outpatient. And even the inpatient, I will tell you, and I've had this experience, they don't cover everything. I don't want to tell my personal story, but yes, I have a personal story with SHA. At the same time, we still have public officers who have not been charged, total disregard of the rule of law and constitutionalism, because they've been mentioned in certain cases, but they're still serving. No one has questioned them. Us, the citizens, are questioning, but no one really takes initiative to follow up. So we are still at the same point 1 year down the line, and that's why we are saying, even as we go to commemorate our friends and soldiers and comrades whom we lost last year, we are still fighting for a better Kenya. We are still fighting for the things that we were fighting for last year. And we have established that the people power can actually speak and listen to be listened to.
True.
It only depends on how intensive you do it, because it's become clear that no one wishes to have a conversation with us. No one wishes to have a dialogue with us. It is until you do something very very big that they would want to throw in the words of let's talk, let's discuss, let's dialogue. Yeah.
It's interesting you talk about intensive, because Shakira's also here, and as we said before, that that famous picture, because this, what we see then is a picture of exactly what Joshua is saying. That famous picture where you're defiant in the face of somebody who could essentially end your life in a minute, that you were not afraid to stand up and say, this is our right. And I believe those are the words that you spoke at that point. And you said, this is our right. We have a right to do this. But then not just that, because even last week we saw you living out another thing where it was said from court that we will not have police officers masked. And you literally went and took a mask off the face of a police officer and ran off. At that moment, did you know what you were doing?
To be honest, I like to believe that I was somewhat in control, but the level of guts that I see when I look at the pictures and videos after they actually surprise me as well. To be honest, there's this adrenaline that usually have when you're out on the streets and something happens. I was with a comrade. It's not even an individual I know personally, but we were there chanting next to each other, and he accidentally bumped into that policeman, and that policeman came to chase after him and try and catch him. And I looked around, and he was the only masked policeman at that point. And I feel like the reason why a lot of these policemen are able to come out with certain force and brutality is because when they are covered, it is hard to identify them, and therefore they can almost get away with anything. And I remembered the court orders, and we actually started speaking, and we said, why are you covering your face? You need to remove your mask. And he did not, why are you so adamant on hiding your face? He refused to remove his mask, and that's when I moved forward to remove the mask from him. Unfortunately, the police officer next to him tried to aim a tear gas directly at me, and that's when I ran away. But it was a spur of the moment thing, and in a lot of what runs in my mind mostly is, why can't people just do the right thing?
Well, Shakira, just before we proceed, you were actually discussed in Parliament, press conferences later on, and they say, look, as much as you have a right to protest, you also don't provoke a police officer. And there was that argument that, reaching out to try and grab was almost, you're taunting the officer, you're provoking the officer, sort of in like wanting to be like violent, and the police have no option but to also, and that discussion happened in Parliament actually, and there are those who say, no, it shouldn't have happened. In that part of the moment when you're doing it, what was this police officer doing or saying? What was the reaction? And how do you view that statement that, you're also provoking the police?
I personally feel like we are the ones who are being provoked. If we are peacefully protesting, we are out on the streets, and all we are doing is just raising banners and chanting. And these fully uniformed police officers come at you trying to, capture you, and you're not doing anything wrong. And you try to have a conversation. The video starts from where we are now in that scuffle, but people didn't see the before, where we are asking, why do you want to arrest this man? Why is your face covered? Remove your mask. Even if you look at the video, you can hear people in the background saying, "Toa mask, toa mask." So it is, I feel like in actually all the protests, it is usually peaceful until the police decide to show up and do whatever it is they're doing. Because in fact, that was on a Tuesday. The next Thursday, usually we start our protests with a media brief. We were tear gassed at the media brief. Literally, there's nothing we were doing. We're just standing, speaking to the press, and one police officer threw two tear gas canisters back to back at us. So between me, a common mwananchi, and the police officer who has the responsibility of actually ensuring that things go in order, when you are the one who's coming to disrupt and initiate the chaos, who is provoking who?
I think based on that, I will just ask you, Joshua, now. In 2025, there is a series of things that happened where you were abducted and kept for 72 hours. Then there is a question of
24.
24?
Yeah.
24. Then we have you're tortured, blindfolded, and dumped near Muranga River. Now, we go to 2025 and you were marked by a police officer. I remember seeing that clip, you asking the police officer, why have you marked me? You wanted even to go record a statement on the same, and further reports show that the same officer beat you up the following day. I remember you being rushed to hospital for assistance. Yeah. And if you compare 2024 and 2025, seems as though nothing really has changed.
Exactly, and that's what I was saying. Nothing has changed. Actually, in 2024, after the abduction in June, we were arrested when we were protesting against abductions in December, on December 30th. And we were 23 of us who were arrested. We slept at Central. And that day, that evening, the police actually fought us physically.
At the cells?
At the cells, yes. Yes.
Well, inside Central Police.
Inside Central
You're
Police.
being beaten.
Yes.
By who?
On 30th December.
By who?
By the police.
Why?
Led by the OCS Talam. I have made several posts about my shirt that was torn. I slept in the cells in cold because I didn't have a shirt.
Wait, you said you were arrested, 23 of you?
Yes.
You were all put in one cell?
We were put in one cell. No, we were put, there's that general cell before
Yes.
you get into the inside cells.
Yeah.
So we were all of us together. So their plan was to separate us to be easy for them to manage us in the cells. So they wanted to take us to different cells, but we refused. So we didn't want to be separated. Because the moment you are separated in police cells, that is where the problem begins.
So you refused and then you all thrown
So
into
we
one cell?
refused, and then they said, okay, Mekata, fine. Then they went out. The OCS came back with about 20 or so police officers with their batons. Yes. And they started beating us in the cells.
The same officer, the same OCS that we're speaking about
I know,
now
Talam.
that has been charged with murder?
Yes.
Or that would be recommended to be charged with murder,
Yes.
So they were punching you, they were using batons?
They were using batons, they were punching us, holding us, and all that. It was chaos. All that were there, all those guys who were there really witnessed chaos. So we fought for about 10 minutes. And that is when that my shirt, my very it's my favorite shirt, was torn all over, and people had bruises. People were some were bleeding, some were injured in the arms and all that.
Joshua, just for a second there, there are two ways somebody can beat you.
Yeah.
Now in this instance, like what Shakira was explaining earlier, somebody now, this other officer wanted to lob a tear gas canister at her before running. In the police cell, before this, when the OCS Talam now came into the cell, when he was beating you with these other, how many police officers again?
I can't tell exactly how many, but there were many.
There were many
20,
officers, about 20 officers.
Yeah.
There are two types of beatings. There's one where, you're being beaten like you're being disciplined, usirudie yo makosa tena. But then there's also the beating ya kinyama, like it's somebody beating you like they want to kill you. Yeah, like so in your case, can you describe?
But both are wrong.
Both are wrong. They're wrong. I'm just saying. I'm trying to establish something here.
Someone beating you into submission. They want you to submit.
Okay.
Yes. So they were beating us with the batons to submit.
It didn't matter where it's your head. It didn't matter.
It didn't matter. You had you had to find a safe space to be beaten. You're the one to expose a safer part of your body to be beaten. 30th deck, 2024.
That was your first encounter with OCS Talam?
Yes, that was the first encounter in person.
How long were you there at Central?
No, we spent just one night. The next day we were taken to the courts.
Okay.
Now after that, we come to 17th. Was it on 17th? Monday. This particular police officer, we were just marching. We were from City Mortuary heading to Central Police Station because we had ensured that we camped there for the autopsy. So we marched to Central, and then when we got to that bridge, crossing over to University of Nairobi and Central, they decided now to sort of cover so that we don't access Central Police Station. But we were not relenting, so we were proceeding on. And the moment they saw we were proceeding on, this one police officer lobbed tear gas canister. And then I went to ask him, why are you tear gassing us? We are just walking to Central Police Station. In any case, this is a public institution. We are walking in there. And then when I asked him that, he said, I've marked you. Nimekumark na nitakupata kwa hizi streets.
Okay, we're going to take a break in just a bit. But all of these, whether it's, Shakira holding up the flag and saying, this is our right, or whether it's you withstanding this torture because of opening your mouth and speaking and asking for, that that whoever hears for change, that we are seeing something that has come to the place whereby there is a question, and sometimes hurtful to hear, but it needs to be answered and it needs to be discussed. Mm-hmm. That there is the thought that we thrive in this chaos, that there's something we enjoy about what could happen as a result, that we enjoy to tell these stories of people who've been tortured in the cell, or somebody who has to run for her life because she feels a tear gas canister will be thrown into her chest. Is it enjoyable? Is it a day where you can come out and do something different? Is it months of just saying, okay, well, let's run after the police. This should be fun today because I have nothing better to do on a Wednesday? Or is it real change that's being sought after? Start with you, Shakira. You've heard it before, have you not?
Yes, actually. And just the other day, I was having a conversation with my mother, and she was asking me, basically, aren't you fearful of your life? And I said, to be honest, I wish I was in a situation where I could just wake up, prepare my son to go to school, go to work, and the most exciting thing that happens to me is maybe somebody smiles at me different during the day. But unfortunately, the situation we are in right now as a country does not allow us as citizens to lead a boring, basic life. Because you wake up in the morning, you walk out of the door, and there's a high chance you cannot come back. Not because you've done anything wrong, because some individual somewhere decides you're not worth continuing your life because you decided to question something, because you decided to post something online, or just because you wear a t-shirt that has a certain message that they do not agree with. Yeah. We live in a country where you're at risk just because you are a young person who has a different opinion from what is agreeable to the political class. That is not a situation where I'm okay to sit back and watch and do nothing about it, and I'm capable of doing something about it. So if for a specific day the most I can do is tweet, but that tweet means I'm risking my life, then that is okay, because this is a situation that I do not wish to have upon my child when he's come of age and he's facing the same problems as I'm experiencing, because I was too cowardly to, put up a fight or question something. I wish I was just capable of ignoring everything and go about my business as a regular person, but it is hard to ignore. The economy is not working, and people have interacted with people. For example, on the Tuesday when goons attacked us, I was working with somebody and they pointed out at one of the goons and they're like, this is my neighbor, I know him. And we called him and we asked him, what are you doing? He said, I have nothing left to live for. This is a young person, barely 22, 23 years old. And his response is that I have nothing left to live for. So how much were you given? 1,000. So for you, 1,000 is good something enough to give you a reason to continue. It's like, but I mean, what else is there? He has tried day in, day out to come out and look for an opportunity to make money in a legitimate manner, but the opportunity does not exist for him. And this same person has people in leadership coming at him and telling him the only way you can earn money is if you go and cause chaos at fellow young people who are demanding justice.
Sometimes you get back to the house in the night and you ask yourself, is it really worth it? Because it's not like we don't have better things to do. And it's not like we really enjoy being on the streets or we enjoy fighting for something. It's just that things are not right, and something must give. Someone has to do something about it. And the moment you get to realize that person has to be you, then you get out and do it. So it's a matter of taking action. And it would be very selfish of us to not fight for something during our times when we are enjoying some freedoms that were fought for by other people. It is just in order that we also be so selfless as they were and fight for a better Kenya, because we have our future generations coming and they would ask us questions. Should things not get better in future, they would ask us, what were you doing when it was your time?
I mean, we are asking our parents.
And some of us are asking our parents. But we're also appreciating the fact that there are things that were it not for the fight, we would not have achieved. And so we also have to proceed from there. We have to just upgrade. We have to make things better as we move on into the future.
We definitely do. Joshua and Shakira here this hour. And we're looking at a year gone by and asking questions about what's going to come in the coming days, what's going to come tomorrow. But one thing is clear, that the resolve is just as strong now as it was a year ago. And making very clear what the fight, what the push actually is for. We'll continue this conversation when we come back. It's 22 minutes to 10 o'clock. This is the Situation Room. Continues after this.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
This is not an announcement. It's a fact.
To plant trees and protect our environment.
To drive mentorship and education.
To grow businesses with funding and training.
To share with our communities.
Since 2020, we've honored this pact.
As we mark 5 years, we renew it, because all impact begins with a pact. I&M Foundation, celebrating 5 years of impact, powered by I&M Bank.
Great! This June, the biggest Club World Cup ever held is here. The 2025 FIFA Club World Cup. Recharge your subscription on your current bouquet for 2 months and get upgraded free to the next higher bouquet for 60 days. A competition across the continent. 30 action-packed days of top-notch football from 32 best club teams from around the world. Recharge your subscription today to never miss a moment of a competition like never before. On the move, download StarTimes on and watch every goal, every moment, anytime, anywhere. StarTimes Sports, beyond passion. StarTimes, enjoy digital life. Provides the inspiration for Leipzig.
The weather with SpiceFM.
All right, looking at cloudy conditions in parts of Nairobi currently at 17. We'll see highs of 24. It is mostly sunny right about now, looking into Nakuru at 18. And at 16, it's sunny in Njeri with 18 and sunny in Eldoret. 26 and sunny through Mombasa, and in Malindi at 28, sunny as well. 23 and sunny conditions in Kisumu with 21 and sunny into Kakamega. Light rain showers continue in Kampala, while Dar es Salaam is sunny at 25. Johannesburg is sunny at 12. 27 and mostly sunny into Mogadishu, while Addis Ababa is sunny at 20. And we'll see that through Lagos, it's sunny at 26, and Kinshasa at 23, mostly sunny. 37 and it's sunny at Beijing, while at 17 it's sunny in Paris and partly sunny at 16 in London. Clear at 29 in New York, coming into Tuesday, highs of 38 and lows of 29.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
All right, we're coming out of traffic hour. Still just a little bit of that left as we come in from North Airport Road and touch on Outer Ring just a little bit. Landis is busy as you go towards Kamkunji at the roundabout. There's bumper to bumper as you're trying to get into the city and onto Haile Selassie. Some traffic coming off of Waiaki Way, and that'll be busy for some time. And Limuru Road still has that traffic as you come in from Ruaka past the village market out towards City Park, and then we'll see some traffic then spill over towards Wangari Maathai Way. But apart from that, more or less, I think we're doing well through the morning. Let's talk and see what today will look like. Spice FM KE on X through the morning.
intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
All right, continuing our conversations this morning, and even as we do, going into the 25th of June tomorrow, but and I often ask this question, that we mark a day, but the things that are being asked for, accountability, transparency, proper management, diminishing of corruption, good leadership, these are not marked by a day. These are things that are still being asked for. Do you find that we get caught up in the protesting and the running battles and all of this? Do you find that we lose sight of the agenda for the people, which is that it must be better, that people should not be unalived, that people should not be disappeared, that people should not, that children should be able to go to school, that money should not be stolen, impunity should not reign? Is that front and center in our minds when we go for these protests? Does it ever leave the mind when sometimes you're washing your eyes for tear gas, or you're thinking, no, I'm not going to go here because I don't want to be shot? Is that what is front and center in the mind, these things that we have talked about and that we insist on?
I feel like for the young people, the individuals who decide to be on the streets, that is usually the thing that keeps us there. When we see a police officer throwing tear gas at us, and we decide we can only retreat for a few seconds so that the air becomes cleaner and come back, that is what drives us. It is clear for us as a people. Unfortunately, I feel like the message is lost when it's being transmitted to the other side. The other side is focused on, let's make sure these people see that we are the ones in power. Let's make sure these people see that we don't particularly care about what it is they are calling for. And for them, the message might be lost, because while we are there calling for justice, while we are there saying, stop killing us, one of them is at the side directly shooting at an individual who's doing nothing wrong. Since Albert Ojwang was killed, 20 people have lost their lives at the hand of the police. That's 20, the ones that are reported and are actively being investigated by IPOA. That's 20 people in a span of less than 2 weeks. 2 weeks where young people are shouting day in, day out, we want justice, stop killing us. Why are you still killing people?
Now, when we talk about that, there is the aspect and allegations that have been put out there that demonstrators who go on the street in the name of Gen Zs have been bankrolled, they're being supported by opponents of government, that all these resources that the Gen Zs ostensibly have when going to the streets is because there is someone behind it. And there is the aspect that these Gen Zs just hate government and order. Okay, how would you respond to that?
First, let me before I come to that, let me pick up on, let me just weigh in on the other issue. I feel like we've always been objective, even as we go to the streets, and we always raise the issues when we go to the street, but we are never allowed to raise those issues. Someone made a comment the other day that why don't you actually address these issues that you're speaking about in interviews on the streets when you go to protest, so people actually know what you are protesting about? We try to do it, but the moment you stand to address those issues, tear gas canister, rubber bullet, someone is hit, someone is hurt, so you have to run around. You never get a chance to actually speak that which you've gone to the streets to protest about. Now, coming to you, I wish someone was able to support those that go to the street to do what they're doing, because it's not an easy job. It's not an easy thing. And no one actually wishes, no amount of money can pay for the danger you expose yourself to when you go to the streets. As far as I know, no one pays anyone no one bankrolls any young person to go to the streets or to protest. These are issues we are passionate about deep down our hearts. And that's why sometimes we get hurt, we get injured, but we still wake up and go. Had someone paid, let's say me, to go to the streets before, maybe I would have taken the money, eaten, and I would be sleeping at home and improving my life. Is it not an option? If anything, some of these people have come to us to ask us, which one is better? Running on the streets, being beaten by police, or joining someone's established political party and being paid something at the end of the month, and they ensure your security and you are driven? Which one is better? I think the latter is better. If you look at it, for any young person who does not have a job, who's fighting for employment, to get employment, the latter is better. But we choose not to pick the latter because we know we are fighting for something long term. And that thing doesn't come easy. That's why we are willing to do all it takes, putting all our energies to ensure we fight for a better Kenya and for a better future. No one pays anyone. No one is inciting. If there is anyone, maybe those aligned to political parties. Because again, amongst us young people, we have people who are aligned to political parties. And they are there probably presenting the interest of their political party leaders. We do not deny that. But for majority of us, those of us who have not aligned to any political party, and we are not even looking forward to doing that, we are fighting a just cause.
Indeed. Shakira, do you think that because the way nations work is that, and democracies work is that the people have a voice, right? And that voice then is brought to life in governance, and that there's a few people in terms of representatives who then take that voice and they turn it into what we then see as policy, and that is then lived through departments and things. That's the way it works. So do we see then that even as we say these things and we have these protests, that change then, can come about because of these things that have been established? If the people's voice is not then being represented, do we see then that, and then how we say that should happen is when we go to the vote. That's has been established. If we choose to follow that system, then what we are going to do to bring about that is the vote. Do we see that all this blood, sweat and tears that is literally being spilt on the streets will translate into better leadership if we go and, number one, register to vote, come out and actually vote? I'll give you an example. In Nigeria, we made noise, said we wanted a new leader. Came out during the election, the people who had registered to vote, although that was a minimal number, then not 50% of those who had registered to vote actually came out on the day and voted. So there's a belief, or there's a thing that comes out and says, we can be in the street, we can picket, we can protest, but at the end of the day, the thing that has been entrenched in a nation state by its form of governance, if we don't do it, then all of this blood, this sweat, these tears, these threats, all of this will almost be seen as a waste if we don't finish. Because this, for me, is I see it as a journey. But if it doesn't end in this thing under which governance demands that we do constitutionally, according to the system of governance that has been chosen, if we don't finish, then this will be seen as a waste. Do you see that?
Yes, I really do. And something I keep saying, any opportunity that I get. At this point, personally, I'm not out on the streets to try and reach to the morality or consciousness of the current political class. They have shown us that they do not care, and they have shown us explicitly that they are not willing to do what is required of them. So personally, I'm out on the streets for the citizens, for my brothers and sisters, for my friends, for my mothers and fathers. I want the message sent out to all citizens of this country that it is up to us to bring about the change that we need in this country. Outside of yelling and shouting on the streets, I do so much together with other comrades and young people. We are moving around from county to county, using our own money, and some contributed by fellow citizens, to host town halls and civic engagement rallies and political education rallies. And this is the message that we are preaching. We are saying fagia wote. And when we say fagia wote, it is calling for a complete overhaul of governance. And that's going to start at the ballot. When people ensure that they have their national identity cards, when the voter registration is open, people go and register to vote. And not just register to vote anywhere, but where you actually live, because that's a lot of mistake Kenyans do. They want to pick voter registration for where they are originally from, but that's not where they spend their day-to-day in. So registering to vote, and then come election dates, I keep saying whether it's 2027, I wish it's sooner. If it's sooner, whatever the date is, that will actually turn up and vote, and not just vote and then go about our business. We're going to sit there and guard our votes, because the political class has already shown us they are interested, and they're already trying to manipulate how the election is going to go. So personally, I'm going to wake up very early and I'm going to vote, and I'm calling for other citizens, especially young people. Young people are going to form 75% of the voters come the next general election. Turn out, vote, and sit there and guard your votes to ensure that the person you're voting for is actually who is going to go into leadership.
Let this not be for waste.
Because we know they are going to try and rig things and manipulate things. And then also when it comes to selecting leadership, we cannot say fagia wote or we want change and select the same individuals who have been there year in, year out. Personally, there is specific faces that I know, not because I want to know them, but because I have seen them time and time again. So it is time to give new people an opportunity. Craziness is doing the same thing. Let's not agree to be.
Standard has revealed a plot by state operative to disrupt tomorrow's anniversary. From what you observed on Tuesday, some of the plans entail positioning goons in key protest zones across Nairobi CBD to unleash violence. And then the mission also includes snatching of phones to prevent documenting police brutality and how these goons are operating. Did you see a semblance of that on Tuesday? And what do you see happening tomorrow, and how you guys then prepared? Will this now coming to light tomorrow? I'll start with you, Joshua.
Oh, all right. I don't know. I like going back, but I wanted to weigh in on what on the previous question. Apart from carrying out civic engagement and political education that the both of us are doing, we are not just making noise. You know, people mistake us for just noisemakers who go to the streets and fight police and do what. That is not what we are doing. We are also engaged in certain processes. As I speak to you, we have a petition here to the National Assembly to repeal Section 22 and 23 of this Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, the act that has been misused by people in power and politicians, so that then if you expose anything about them, they arrest you under Section 22 and 23. And that is the unfortunate arrest that befell Alberto Joao, the late, rest in peace, and even Rose Njeri. So we have been we were born in a technological world, in a digital world.
We should say at this point that if we didn't see the news, that those cases, those charges have been dropped completely for the same reason that you're talking about, because that charge doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
We don't have a criminal, what is it called? Criminal libel. It's a civil tort.
Yeah.
So that's very unfortunate, and these are some of the things we are doing to ensure that we work on the system. But coming to you, we saw what happened on Tuesday last week, and we are very much aware that the state will do anything possible to unleash violence on us using goons. But we are also prepared.
How so?
we shall employ what we call the active nonviolence. That is to ensure we are safe by any means necessary. We are not going to be violent on anybody, but we shall ensure we are safe by any means necessary. How so? We are not going to tell them, you don't reveal your tricks. We shall. And it's very unfortunate that the state gets to a point where they unleash violence on innocent young people just protesting for their rights, for that which is theirs. And we condemn them and we say, shame on you. Shame on you, whoever is doing this. Shame on the president because he's aware. Shame on the IG and DIGs and all the police officers. Shame on them. And shame on all political leaders who think that the solution and the alternative to responding to people's cries is unleashing goons and violence on innocent Kenyans. Shame on them. And that is why we are fighting. Because we don't want a Kenya where instead of people responding by offering solutions, they respond by violence and beating you,
creating
all that. So we are getting down to what we call a banana republic, and we don't want that. That's why the young people are saying we are not relenting, because the moment they unleash goons and you relent and say sasa tunaogopa, now we can't go to the streets because they are goons, then they'll say, you see, dawa yao. That is what
these goons are your fellow young people.
They are our fellow young people. That is the most unfortunate thing. That is the problem with poverty. Calculated poverty. So that they keep you poor to the extent that they will be able to bribe you with 1,000 shillings to beat your fellow young person that you live in the same plot with. And that is why we should emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. We should pull ourselves off that hole where we've been kept poor and we think it is normal. That is why we are talking about complete overhaul. And we are going to come out on whenever we will be doing elections. As we speak, this battle is not going to end tomorrow. It is going to continue up to until we will hold elections. And until then, we will be there to ensure that nothing passes our eyes. We will ensure they are accountable to every action that they take.
Just to add on that, I feel like tomorrow is June 25th. It is mostly about sealing the date June 25th as a key moment in our history as a country. We are saying justice for our Mashujaa. And who are our Mashujaa? The young people who lost their lives standing rightfully and calling for what they believed was right. There are so many young people who got injured in the time, and we've seen somebody like Bahati was here before me, and they are still struggling to recover from these injuries and adjust their livelihoods based on what happened to them. We have parents, siblings who've lost their relatives and they're still mourning up to now. They haven't seen any form of justice being done. The most that we've seen is the inquest into Rex's Masai's death, and that's not a trial. It is an inquest to look whether the case is worth opening a trial for. 1 year down the line, not a single police officer has been arrested and prosecuted for maiming somebody's child, for killing an innocent person. And this is what tomorrow is about.
Indeed.
We want to the parents of these people, led by the mother of Rex Masai, they have a petition that we are going to help them deliver to the parliament and deliver the same message to the office of the president to invoke a judicial process where we are actually going to see people being brought into account. We are actually going to see whoever was responsible, first and foremost, losing their jobs and having cases being opened, and for some form of justice to these families, because no amount of money can bring back anyone to life, can compensate for the pain, but some form of compensation. And that is why these mothers have delivered these notifications to police stations across the countries, and police have come out to ensure that, to say that they are going to ensure it's going to be a peaceful process. So it's also going to be a litmus test towards the police, towards the people in government and whoever is responsible. Are they going to live up to their word? Because while they're out here speaking these things, we can see the kind of activities that is happening in the background.
Indeed.
We'll do our best to ensure security. We have contracted young people amongst ourselves whose sole purpose is to ensure that we have some form of safety for all the people coming out to march. But the buck stops. What's the saying? The people who are responsible, it is the police, it is the government.
The buck
So
stops the police.
They need to show us that they can actually do, give people some hope that you have come out and said this, and people are planning to come out. I have individuals who are coming out, the entire family, somebody with their parents and their kids, because it is this 25th is a significant day for all of us.
Indeed, and we can't but hope that it is a safe day, and that there will be no tears, and that there will be no violence, but that there will be justice. Thank you both for being here this morning. Joshua Okayo and Shakira Ofula, thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you for being part of Kenya's biggest conversation this Tuesday morning. Good morning at 3 minutes past 10.
Good morning.